The first thing to do after being reborn is to take a hammer and chisel a slab of steel right off the aircraft carrier, then risking a shredded throat. I swallowed that steel slab without a second thought, because in just 30 minutes, the blood rain begins. More than 70% of all living things on Earth will mutate into monsters. In my past life, I had awakened the ultimate devour talent. Anything possessing a special energy signature could be devoured by me, but before I even had the chance to use it, I was killed by a pack of biomechanical fish. Now that I've been reborn, I realize my devour talent is still here, so I decided immediately to find something with a powerful energy signature to devour. This time, I'll be steps ahead of everyone else. After taking a look at my surroundings, there was no doubt that the thing within my reach, loaded with the most powerful energy signatures, was this aircraft carrier, the Unity, right in front of me. It's the 4th-generation nuclear-powered carrier of the Dragon Nation. Not only does it displace over 150,000 tons, but it's also equipped with a controllable nuclear fusion power system, plus an array of advanced missile and artillery armaments. It is, without a doubt, a pillar of national defense. The sheer number of energy signatures embedded in this ship is beyond anything I could ever imagine. So, while there weren't many people around, I grabbed a fire axe from the floor and started hacking away at the inner hull of the carrier. I swung it twice, but by the time I raised it for the 3rd strike, the others finally reacted to what I was doing. Stop in less than 2 seconds. I was tackled and pinned to the floor. They didn't see me as much of a threat. After all, trying to destroy an aircraft carrier with a fire axe is something only a lunatic would do. They just figured I'd been at sea too long and was having a mental breakdown. That fire axe was already chipped and ruined. There were only a few laughably shallow scratches on the bulkhead, but my eyes lit up. I got it. I spotted a fragment of the carrier the size of a soybean on the floor. Ignoring the fact that I was pinned down and unable to move, I lunged for it, with no time to worry about the fill. You suddenly stretch your neck out, and with a flick of your tongue against the ground, you snatch it. That shard is whipped into your mouth. Asterisk whoosh asterisk. You've swallowed it down and absorbed it. No, quick, stop him. Make him spit it out or feed him the medicine. That thing will tear up his insides. He's gonna lose all his combat strength. That sent the Marines into a complete panic. The jagged steel shard tears down your throat, burning like fire, just like they warned. But you aren't worried one bit, because the very next second, your devour talent kicks in. Absorption of the aircraft carrier successful. Acquired traits: Steel Body level 9, Nuclear Power level 8, Wavebreaker level 8, War Behemoth level 9, Flagship level 9, Heavy Industry Titan level 10, Divine Might level 9. In an instant, a flood of talent traits explodes within your consciousness. The moment Steel Body level 9 activates, the pain in your body vanishes instantly. Forget about a piece of steel. Even if you swallowed a missile right now, your stomach would just treat it like a late-night snack. I feel so powerful. You feel your body overflowing with raw, surging energy. Any one of these top-tier traits would be enough to forge a powerhouse on its own. You give a light shove, asterisk clatter asterisk. The elite Marines pinning you down are like mere scarecrows against your divine might level 9, flung away in an instant. There are only a few minutes left before the global mutation. You have to get to the deck immediately. You remember clearly when the mutation began in your past life. The Union ship was struck by a mutant humpback whale, crippled on the spot this time. That beast, I'll be the one to drive it back. You clench your fists tight and cast a glance at your comrades lying on the deck. No time to explain. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. You bolted forward in a flash, sprinting wildly toward the aircraft carrier deck. People tried to cut you off along the way, but no one could withstand even a casual swipe from you. They all went crashing to the ground, one after another. Just like that, you stormed your way onto the deck. However, the carrier's own top speed isn't exactly groundbreaking, so you needed something faster. Your gaze locked instantly onto a fighter jet on the tarmac, the pride of the wrong nation, the Giant 41, a 6th-and-a-half-generation hypersonic stealth fighter. You charged straight toward it. Halt, one more step, and I'm authorized to engage. A soldier who had caught up to you shouted out a final warning. Seconds later, the energy rounds came flying. Bang banged. 2 energy rounds struck your calves with pinpoint precision. The soldier who fired was already bracing to rush in and subdue you. But the next second, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. There were 2 holes torn in your pants, but the skin exposed underneath shimmered with a metallic glow in the sun. Not even a scratch was left behind. How is that even possible? In that split second of shock, more energy rounds slammed into you, but they only sparked against your skin like mere pebbles. Completely useless. Steel Body level 9. You completely ignored attacks of this intensity. You just kept pushing through the barrage, under the horrified gaze of everyone watching, and reached the front of the Giant 41. You grabbed a piece of the fuselage with both hands, accompanied by the ear-piercing screech of tearing metal. You easily ripped a chunk right off. You tore at it a few more times, until you had a piece small enough to fit in your mouth. It was absorbed directly. The opportunity is finally here. Who even cares about how precious this fighter jet is anymore? Absorbing the Giant Zin 40 hypersonic stealth fighter. Successfully acquired talent magnetic strips. Godspeed level 11. Multi-shield stealth level 10. Flight level 10. Another long stream of magnetic strips floods into your mind. The duplicate duplicate strips start merging with each other. The higher-level ones absorb the lower-level ones. You watch as the aircraft carriers, War Beast Level 9, merges with the fighter jets, War Beast Level 7, and upgrades into War Beast Level 10. Even though there were fewer magnetic strips from the fighter, it gave you your highest level skill yet, God, Speed Level 11, and more importantly, it lets you fly. With a thought in your mind, your feet instantly leave the deck. You hover steadily in the air, then move again. A white shockwave erupts where you were just standing. The people around you only catch a blur, and then you vanish. You teleported straight from the carrier deck to the surface of the sea 1,000 meters away. The Giant Zin 40's top speed is 42 Mach, the best in the world, and you, with your godlike Godspeed Level 11, will only be faster and stronger. You slowly ascend, looking down at the entire carrier strike group from above, searching for your next target. Found you, the Skynet electronic reconnaissance ship. You've locked onto it. You dive down like a meteor. This ship is the ace of the Dragon Nation's intelligence station. It can scout, it can jam, it can even force a data link connection. It's famous for broadcasting boonie bears for 3 hours straight, a nightmare that leaves countless enemies trembling. No questions asked, just absorb it. Even though you have multi-shield stealth capabilities, the Skynet's phased array radar still managed to pick you up. But the real problem is, to a radar, a stealth fighter is just a giant bird, but the signal you're sending back is only as tiny as half a soybean. Data like that, it's usually dismissed as a system glitch. And while the soldiers on the ship are still trying to make sense of that abnormal signal, you've already landed on the deck without making a sound. With just your fingers, you easily pry a piece of metal right off the ship's hull and pop it into your mouth. If you want to get stronger, you have to absorbing the Skynet and electronic surveillance ship. Success. Talent acquired, magnetic strip. Detection level 11, full system access level 9. Besides duplicate magnetic strips, you've gained 2 more crucial abilities, especially detection, which you're about to need. Drip. Drip. Cold liquid hits your face. You look up. Without you even noticing, the sky has been choked by red clouds. Golden, foul-smelling raindrops begin to fall. You wipe your face and stare at the golden liquid on your hand. The global mutation has begun. You know the world is in chaos. If time wasn't so tight, you'd love to absorb the entire carrier strike group. But right now, that mutated humpback whale is about to show up. Detection, your heart races. With you at the center, an invisible detection field ripples outward instantly. Visual, microwave, electromagnetic, thermal. Everything within hundreds of kilometers is laid bare in your perception, with nowhere to hide. Almost the exact moment you find it. Everyone on the sea feels it too. The sea level is rising violently. A shadow so massive it brings nothing but despair is now clearly visible beneath the surface. A humpback whale? No. From now on, we should just call him Zu-kun. Ever since his transformation, his size is now even greater than the 150,000-ton Union-class aircraft. That dark, ominous silhouette is lurking right beneath the carrier. And it's rising at lightning speed. He's getting ready to strike, just like he did during the ceremony, to deal a devastating blow to the Union. Alarms are blaring across the entire fleet. You can see the Union desperately trying to change course. The escort ships are firing torpedoes from the flanks, but it's completely useless. The deep-sea torpedoes slam into that massive beast, and while some golden fluid leaks out, for him, that little scratch is no different from a mosquito bite. If anything, it only made him absolutely furious. Zu-kun thrashes his body beneath the water, and with one swing of his giant tail, a massive wave, dozens of meters high, and a miniature shockwave are sent crashing upward. The Union, thanks to its sheer massive size, manages to hold steady despite the violent shaking, but the surrounding 10,000-ton destroyers are sent flying by the force of the wave. At this point, nobody even cares where you are anymore. Inside the fleet's command center, the commander grips the table tightly and bellows out his orders. Open fire with every weapon system on all escort ships. Prepare for a full-scale barrage. He's made up his mind. A volley of hundreds of missiles is enough to wipe a small nation off the map. Commander, you can't. The officers immediately stop him. The monster is right beneath us. At this proximity, if 100 missiles detonate underwater, the resulting shockwave will flip our entire fleet upside down. It's true their weapons were all designed for long-range surface combat. Who could have imagined that the enemy would crawl out from right beneath their own feet? That monster is way too close. It's got everyone paralyzed with fear, afraid to make a move. He slammed his fist down on the table. Left with no choice, he ordered the carrier's engines to max power, trying to shake it off. But before he could even finish his sentence, the monitor operator shrieked, "No. It's accelerating. It's charging right at us." On the electronic screen, the speed at which Zu-kun was closing in had hit a terrifying 180 kilometers per hour. The mothership couldn't shake it off at all. In seconds, it was going to smash right into the hull. Everyone in the command bridge widened their eyes in horror, bracing themselves for the devastating impact. Yet the collision never came. Zu-kun stopped, hovering just 150 meters below the ship. What on earth? Just as the commander was trying to figure it out, he heard a scream from the monitor operator. Commander, look. The feed cut to the main screen and zoomed in rapidly. There on top of that mountain-sized monster was a human figure, holding the beast back with both arms, dead set on stopping it. What? The commander rubbed his eyes. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. That was actually a human being. At this moment, you had completely transformed, shimmering with silver and copper. Behind you, two massive steel cannons emerged like wings. You were pushing back hard against the top of Zhu Kun's head, with your superhuman strength at level 9 fully unleashed. You stopped his upward surge all by yourself. Zhu Kun let out a furious, deafening roar. Deep blue glowing veins appeared all over his body. His power spiked instantly. He lashed his giant tail against the water below, doubling his force in a heartbeat. But so what? Everyone in the command bridge gasped in total shock again, because right behind you, a massive ghostly projection of an aircraft carrier appeared, with a haunting, deep blue light pulsing across its hull. It was like a miracle descending from the heavens, a divine force, combined with the 150,000 tons of weight of an aircraft carrier and its nuclear power. You forced it upon him, just like leading a bull to water by the horns, propelling the phantom of the carrier forward. You slammed it ruthlessly onto Zhu Kun's head. Boom! The sound of the impact was as heavy as thunder. A fortress of steel, who's afraid of anything. A vast expanse of the ocean was instantly dyed in gold. Zhu Kun's brow, his very bones damaged by the sheer force of the carrier's bow. He was left covered in wounds. No one would ever think to use an aircraft carrier for close-quarters combat. But you proved them wrong. A steel behemoth weighing 150,000 tons, engaging in the most primitive form of collision, is truly invincible. Zhu Kun was completely stunned by that blow. Seizing the chance, you instantly flashed beneath his underbelly. As your hands surged upward in a trance, from both sides of the carrier phantom behind you, massive steel wings unfolded, blotting out the sky. At the stern of the ship, two massive jet engines suddenly appeared. Godlike speed, flight, and the power to cleave through the waves, all combined with the carrier's supreme divine strength. Get up! You shouted at the top of your lungs, successfully hoisting Zhu Kun's mountain-like body. You smashed through the water's surface and soared into the sky. Sir, what am I seeing? The Unity is actually flying. Oh my God! Every soldier on the warships nearby witnessed a sight they would never forget for the rest of their lives. An aircraft carrier, lifting a massive sea monster even larger than itself, shot straight up 10,000 meters into the sky. After a long moment, the commander of the frigate finally glanced down at the radar. He muttered, "Good heavens, that's not our Unity. Our ship is still perfectly fine, sitting right there on the water." The radar screen clearly displayed two unknown, colossal entities in the sky, and one of them is currently spinning the other one higher and higher. 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers. At 10,000 meters, the void whale wakes up and struggles frantically. But away from the ocean, its power is severely diminished. It has no way to break free. The atmosphere in the fleet's command deck is tense to the breaking point. Commander, give the order. This is the perfect chance to activate the weapon. A staff officer shouts with excitement. No, another one immediately retorts. The person helping us is still beneath that beast, but we can't be sure if he's friend or foe. Enough, the fleet commander waves his hand, speaking with ironclad resolve. Our Dragon Bone fleet never attacks its own comrades. All weapon systems stand by. Prepare to provide support at any moment. Understood, yes, sir. By now, you have hoisted the void whale to an altitude of nearly 20,000 meters. Even with your divine strength level 9, your arms are starting to feel slightly sore. All right, buddy, eat this. The earth-shattering toss. The phantom engine behind your back blasts out a brilliant stream of blue particles. Divine speed level 11 activated. You use every ounce of your strength to send the void whale's massive body in a smooth, perfect arc, hurling it fiercely toward the distant horizon. Go, matching the speed of a comet in an instant. The void whale's huge frame turns into a shooting star, carving an incredible path across the sky, 130 kilometers away. After nearly 100 seconds, boom, the impact force of falling from 20,000 meters is no less than that of a small meteorite. The immense kinetic energy of the collision causes the void whale's back to shatter into a mist of energy the moment it hits the water, smashing a terrifying crater into the sea with a diameter of over 10,000 meters. Damn Naiyijai, you're absolutely insane. Look at Zhu Kun. You've sent him bouncing like a skipping stone, slammed him down, leaped up, and slammed him again, then leaped up again, sending him flying for over 100 kilometers. His body's completely shredded, lying there critically wounded. What are you all still waiting for? Your face suddenly popped up on every single screen, in the command centers of every ship. Your voice, laced with raw fury, cut through everyone's train of thought instantly. We're already at a safe distance. Why aren't you attacking him already? The command center fell into a deathly silence. You used the connection you absorbed from the Skynet electronic recon ship to link into all their systems. Level 9 isn't just for show. You breached all their defenses like they were nothing. Start the attack. What are you thinking? You shouted, snapping them back to reality. Your tone was blunt, but not a single soul dared to talk back. On the flagship, the commander slammed his hand onto the table. His gaze swept over the silent crew. He quickly gave the order to seize the opening. All missile silos prepare to fire. 3 full volleys launched the attack. Almost at the exact same moment, your face vanished from their screens. You were already standing on the deck of the nearest Lingfeng level 55 frigate. Without a second's hesitation, you ripped off a chunk of steel and absorbed it straight into yourself. In an instant, raw power surged through you. You gained Blade Guard level 9, ship-to-ship artillery level 8, Lone Blade Vanguard level 8, and several other offensive traits. And just like that, the aircraft carrier group behind you underwent a terrifying transformation. Massive amounts of missiles launched from both sides of the deck. They just materialized out of thin air. Phantom hypersonic missiles, manifesting into reality, joining the rest of the fleet's barrage. They streaked toward Zukun, who was still struggling, and bouncing off into the distance. You know, an aircraft carrier isn't actually the most powerful unit on its own. Its true core lies in its fleet of carrier-based aircraft. However, after absorbing the Lingfeng 55, that legendary ship, which once slipped right under the British Navy's nose and pulled off a solo mission, the most powerful destroyer the Dragon Nation ever built. The Phantom carrier shadow looming behind you is no longer just a standard carrier. The Lingfeng 55 boasts 16 missile launch cells with over 100 vertical launch silos. It can unleash nearly 200 missiles of all types in a single volley, including high-energy weaponry. It is known as a mobile missile launch base. And now, all of that raw power has become your own. Have you ever even heard of a 150,000-ton destroyer? It is standing right there behind you. The Phantom carrier shadow. Now it's packed with thousands of missile silos lined up in perfect rows. Your individual firepower alone equals an entire fleet, even though this semi-materialized Phantom requires your own energy to sustain it. The level 8 nuclear power source within you provides an endless supply. Boom, you and the carrier Phantom are instantly swallowed by a massive cloud of smoke and dust. With just one single volley, over 100 hypersonic missiles blast off into the sky. They execute a precise formation in midair, shifting directions, matching the speed, and exceeding the intensity of the missiles launched by the unified fleet, flying out with even greater velocity. Their terminal speed surges to nearly Mach 40, covering 10,000 meters per second. In less than 20 seconds, the hypersonic missiles you conjured caught up to the targets, which had already flown over 200 kilometers away. Each strike lands with an error margin of no more than 10 centimeters. And so, energy shockwaves erupt one after another across the sea, as continuous blast waves tear through the entire ocean region. The hypersonic missiles detonate dozens of meters deep underwater, creating a massive plume of water reaching 2,000 to 3,000 meters high. A wall of water stretching for 1,000 meters. Then that towering wall of water came crashing down. It was a shockwave in the truest sense. The force was every bit as devastating as a high-yield weapon. And then, the late-arriving missiles from the United Aircraft Carrier Strike Group could only finish off what remained of Zukun's reinforced skeletal frame. In reality, Zukun had already been completely pulverized. But you were still flying at top speed toward that spot, because you knew taking down a mutant of this caliber was bound to leave behind some serious loot. After flying for about 1 minute, you reached the patch of sea where Zukun had been torn apart. Through your reconnaissance senses, a massive, ghostly blue energy source was clearly visible. You used your wavebreaker talent to part the sea, and inside, a fist-sized energy crystal floated up. It was the size of a small millstone, an energy core. In the future, this thing is a top-tier supplement for boosting your superhuman power level. It's the ultimate hard currency, although Zukun was wiped out just as it started to mutate. So the quality of this core is only a tier 3. The sheer volume of energy packed into this thing is enough to rival an overlord. As for this energy core, you have only one word in mind: absorb. You grabbed the millstone-sized energy core and chose the most explosive way to refine it. Absorb, you successfully tore a fragment the size of a palm from the energy core. You started absorbing it directly, and your iron body at level 9 meant you had zero fear of being blown apart from the surge. Refining it the normal patient way, too slow. In an instant, your aura began to skyrocket. Superhuman Tier 1. Early stage, mid-stage, late stage, peak. Superhuman Tier 2. Almost within a few seconds, you broke through from Tier 1 to Tier 2, becoming an elite tier superhuman warrior. But Zukun's energy core was simply too massive. You only absorbed a tiny sip, but that's equivalent to absorbing an energy core from a Tier 3 mutated beast of the same rank. Even if 90% of it is wasted, it's still enough to push you to Tier 2. At the same time, your ultimate absorption talent is triggering. You've absorbed a Tier 3 commander-level mutated beast. Zukun has gained infinite growth level 8. Formerly level 5. You've absorbed level 6 super regeneration, level 7 sea power, and level 7 divine strength. Dozens of new talents flooding in. Your analytical vision scans the target. Zukun's talent is truly a gift from the heavens. With infinite growth, even without breaking through your rank, you can grow your body size boundlessly and boost your combat power. This used to be Zukun's core ability. Combined with his absorption talent, it allowed him in his past life to become a massive behemoth in the ocean. You trigger your absorption talent. A massive black vortex appears right before you. It whips up a gale 8 levels strong. Oceans of water come rushing in. This is what a real deal absorption skill looks like. You take the millstone-sized energy core of Zukun and toss it straight into the absorption vortex. It's much more convenient to absorb it this way. The efficiency and utilization rate are much higher too. In an instant, your supernatural rank starts skyrocketing again. Then you can't help but let out a burp. A burst of blue mist shoots out from your mouth, spraying dozens of meters away. You quickly clamp your mouth shut. Just that one spray, that burst of supernatural energy, is enough for an average Tier 1 superhuman to advance a minor rank. Zukun's energy core is just too massive. You're feeling a bit stuffed, but that's all right. You've got your own way of handling it. All that excess energy you can't digest is being diverted to the aircraft carrier Phantom behind your back. This spectral ship is also a manifestation of your power. The infinite growth technique has been activated. The phantom aircraft carrier behind you, which was originally fixed at a displacement of 150,000 tons, has suddenly started to expand. 150,000, 200,000, 250,000 tons. A massive amount of energy cores are being absorbed. The aircraft carrier behind you has grown to more than 3 times its original size in an instant. And that's not all. This ever-changing carrier has taken on a new look. It kept all its original features, but now it's covered in a layer of new organic membrane. The exterior of the hull has become even more streamlined and teardrop-shaped, leaning closer to an aquatic, biological form. The ship's color scheme, once red, white, and gray, has shifted into a sleek blue and black finish. Etched with mysterious, profound markings, they look just like the innate, extraordinary patterns on Zhu-Kun's body. Right now, it looks more like a hyper-futuristic bio-warship from a movie. Your own extraordinary power is also skyrocketing, even though infinite growth consumed a massive amount of energy. Zhu-Kun's energy core is simply too vast. Even just a tiny fraction of what you can digest was enough to help you easily break through once again. Level after level, you smashed through, successfully reaching the third order extraordinary, Lord level. And you didn't stop until you reached the very peak of the Lord level. Yeah, you can't help but let out a low growl of satisfaction. Lord level, enough to become the ruler of a medium-sized sanctuary, protecting hundreds of thousands of people. You thrust your hand forward. The 500,000-ton aircraft carrier Phantom surged ahead, slamming heavily into the sea surface. Instantly, it unleashed an even greater shockwave. A wall of water 100 meters high rose in an instant. Just a single wave of your hand. The force of that attack was easily on par with the combined power of hundreds of hypersonic missiles. Active energy blasts. Your power has undergone a world-shaking transformation. If you run into another Tier 3 void whale, you could just swing that aircraft carrier behind you and crush it. It would be an easy one-shot kill, even though this infinite growth consumes insane amounts of resources. It's basically a bottomless pit, but a gift that allows for limitless growth is an incredibly rare talent. You're extremely satisfied with this ability. Plus, since the spectral projection of the carrier handles the size increase for you, you don't have to turn into some grotesque mountain of flesh. That eliminates your only real concern. My current strength is far beyond anything a Tier 3 Lord-level creature could ever hope to withstand. Your eyes glisten with intensity, even though in your past life, you never had the chance to even get close to an Overlord-level supernatural entity. Your primal instincts are screaming at you right now that even an overlord is nothing more than that. You retract the spectral carrier and descend. With one hand, you fish out the massive, drifting white bones. From deep within the seawater, these are the remains of the void whale. Even though it was shattered, most of the structure remains intact. The bones of a lord-level beast are undeniably top-tier supernatural materials. They're going to be worth a fortune in the future. You drag that skeleton, which weighs at least 20 to 30,000 tons, straight out of the ocean. You glance up at the sky, where the rain is only getting heavier. The torrential downpour shows no signs of stopping. It's likely that over half the world's population, along with plants and animals, have already been wiped out. Dragging the void whale's bones, you fly toward the Tongyi aircraft carrier fleet. You know that in this world, there aren't many places left that remain unaffected by this relentless rain. The Dragon Nation's carrier fleet is one of them, because amidst this global catastrophe, concepts from novels and movies, like National Destiny, have actually manifested. The Tongyi aircraft carrier, it's clear you're shouldering the weight of the Dragon Nation on your shoulders. Your enterprise now wields level 10 national strategic assets. From the Red Cloud whale to where we are now, there hasn't been a single soldier on that carrier strike group, all thanks to the protection of those guardian powers. You know it better than anyone. The United was supposed to be wrecked by Zhu-Kun, but then that guardian power spilled out. In the end, it was meant to be nothing more than a weapon of war. Now that you've driven Zhu-Kun back and kept it intact, the carrier strike group possesses the power to annihilate any commander-level mutant and even inflict damage on overlord-level threats. But the soldiers operating them, they're still too fragile. That's why you've decided to give them a real boost. It's time for a major upgrade. You're going to help them awaken their true, transcendent powers, because inside this fish spine lies what they call soft gold, the fish marrow. It's the only part of Zhu-Kun's body that's gentle enough for ordinary people to absorb directly as a special resource. Use it to help the soldiers on the carrier group cleanse their bodies and ignite their dormant, extraordinary powers. Most of them will unlock their own unique talents and finally become true, transcendent warriors. Even for those who don't, it will still drastically strengthen their bodies, turning them into elite, quasi-transcendent soldiers. Are you ready to give your country's warriors a gift like this? Meanwhile, inside the command bridge of the aircraft carrier, the United personnel are rushing around in a frenzy. The chief of staff turns to the officer reporting in and asks, "How's it going? Any luck finding the breach in our electronic information network?" "Reporting, sir, nothing yet." The officer in charge wipes his brow, looking clearly troubled. "Chief, our electronic defense systems are showing that they haven't been breached or damaged at all. It's like the enemy. It's like they just walked in using our own keys. They just walked right through our front door, bypassed our defenses, and waltzed right in. How is that even possible?" The chief of staff, he used to be an expert in electronic warfare himself. He knows exactly how insane of a technical feat this is. The sheer power and hardware required for this kind of bypass is way more terrifying than just smashing through our shields. Just then, the soldier monitoring the radar Array let out a startled shout. Report, the target is closing in at incredible speed. Current speed is roughly 12 Mach. Estimated time of arrival at our coordinates is 58 seconds. 12 Mach. The entire command staff was stunned. How did it jump to 12 Mach? Before this, the radar data. Wasn't it tracking him at only about 4 Mach? How did it triple all of a sudden? This shift in the data, just like that, every contingency plan they had for you became completely useless. They were left with almost no way to counter this, because not only are you terrifyingly fast, you've also got stealth capabilities and full access to our internal systems. How in the hell is he pulling this off? They were completely baffled. This was totally beyond their comprehension. So, are we going to attempt an intercept? The target is about to breach our safety perimeter again. A staff officer pointed at the screen, at the radar signature representing you, and asked. Every single second left for them to react shrinks the gap by 4 kilometers. In the command room, the 7 or 8 officers. Some wanted to engage. Others thought they should try to make peaceful contact. It was split right down the middle, but most agreed that keeping a safe distance from you was vital. You couldn't be allowed within 100 kilometers. All the officers turned to look at the fleet commander, who had been silent the whole time. The newer staff officers all watched him with anticipation, waiting to see what this notorious hardliner would do, waiting for his orders. But the commander-in-chief wasn't in any rush to reply. He held the holographic display, replaying it over and over again, showing the footage the fleet captured of you and Zhu Kun, right in the heat of battle. Once the video finished, he dragged the timeline back, zooming in and projecting it onto the screen. Look, everyone, he's wearing our standard issue military boots, and that belt, it belongs to our Navy too. The commander-in-chief zoomed in on your figure, specifically highlighting your boots for everyone to see. Your uniform was shredded by the energy surge, so you had already cast it aside. Your pants were ripped to shreds, leaving only half, but your military boots and belt remained completely intact. The emblem of the Royal Navy was clearly visible on them. Does that mean he's one of our own? He's our soldier. Someone's eyes went wide, staring at you with a burning intensity. Suddenly, no one mentioned attacking you anymore, or keeping you 100 kilometers away. If you were actually a soldier of the Dragon Kingdom, well, they suddenly had a million daring ideas. Send someone to check which unit has a missing person, someone who shouldn't be off duty. Verify his identity immediately. The commander-in-chief commanded. At the same time, he raised another question. How could a human possess such terrifying power? And down there in the depths, there's something as massive as a mothership, not to mention those red clouds covering the sky, raining down endlessly. They've already stained the shallow waters to the color of golden whales. This is definitely not normal. Is something happening to this sea, or perhaps the whole planet? He felt that the world was undergoing some kind of unexpected, drastic change. Get a team to initiate contact with command and report this. Check if anything's happened yet. Forget about communicating. Before the commander-in-chief could even finish his sentence, his order was cut off by someone else. Everyone in the cabin looked up. Their electronic communication system had been hijacked again. The face projected onto the electronic screen wasn't a stranger's. Just stop wasting your breath. You should just open fire. The voice carried a tone of impatient decisiveness. Right now, the whole world is at a breaking point. Right now, I'd bet more than half the population has already turned into monsters. The personnel responsible for fleet communications are probably already monsters themselves. Even if that weren't the case, Blue Star is in total chaos. They have no way of knowing what's actually going on in such a short time. Your words were like a thunderclap, plunging the entire command deck into deathly silence. Less than 10 minutes have passed since the global transformation. You know damn well that even the Dragon Kingdom couldn't possibly stabilize the situation this quickly. Just the hundreds of millions of people who turned into monsters are enough to drag the entire nation into a deep crisis, not to mention the countless mutated plants and animals. You look at the naval officers on the screen. Their faces couldn't look any grimmer. Yeah, they've been drifting at sea for years. What for? Wasn't it to protect the country behind them and their people? And now their home is gone. The commander-in-chief didn't hesitate for a second. His voice boomed through the screens across the carrier fleet. All hands listen up. Turn back now. Prepare for combat. Prepare for sacrifice. A murderous, chilling aura instantly filled the command room. Immediately after, those steel behemoths cut massive arcs across the sea surface. Engines at full throttle. They roared toward the Dragon Kingdom. All fighter jets prepare for launch. All sailors prepare for ground combat. We are the Navy, but our country needs us, so today we are the Army. The commander's voice, broadcast with intensity, echoed throughout the entire fleet and reached your ears as well. You know exactly what that fire feels like, because you were once one of them. But he has no idea how many marionettes, like Zhu Kun, are lurking within the country's borders. Going back out there like this, it's just a suicide mission. Wait, you immediately called out to him. If you go out there like this, once you reach the golden territory, they'll just end up as new marionettes. These words were like a bucket of ice water, extinguishing the commander's fervor. He furrowed his brows. Then what do we do? He couldn't just watch his soldiers die, not by losing their lives on the battlefield, but by pathetically turning into those things. His gaze locked onto you on the screen, filled with desperate hope. Since you brought up the problem, you must have the answer. And just at that moment, dragging that massive Zukun fish skeleton behind you, you finally appeared in the fleet's line of sight. Asterisk thud, asterisk with a casual toss. The hundreds of meters craters of fish bones landed like a small mountain, crashing heavily right in front of the carrier strike group, sending waves surging into the sky. You had successfully blocked this invincible fleet. You spoke up, your voice ringing clearly through everyone's comms. I came back for this. Want to be immune to the infection. It's simple. Awaken and become a transcendent. You quickly explained the effects of the Zukun fish bone, and in an instant, every commander, every single soldier, began to breathe heavily. Transcendence purification. Can we really become as strong as you? The commander's voice trembled with anticipation. You stumbled for a second there. I don't think so. After all, your talent is one of a kind. The light in the commander's eyes dimmed for a brief moment, but it flared up again instantly. Even if they aren't perfect, as long as they can awaken, every single soldier under his command will become an elite warrior of the past. That's more than enough to handle those common mutants. And that is exactly what you were thinking. An army of over 10,000 superhumans would be enough to, in the shortest time possible, build an impenetrable sanctuary. No sooner said than done. You flew up to the fish skeleton, reached out and grabbed the thickest part of the spine. With a fierce hack and a mighty tug, crack, that segment of bone snapped right off. You pulled again, and hundreds of meters long, golden shimmering, jelly-like substance glowing with blue fluorescence was successfully pulled out by you. This is the soft gold of the fish marrow. You tossed it onto the deck of the United aircraft carrier. It coiled up like a giant python across the deck, which was already packed with the first batch of soldiers waiting to awaken. Your terms are simple. Give them the fish marrow, and all you want in return is one single drop of their awakened essence. It's a win-win deal. The soldiers lined up, using their combat knives to slice off a small piece of the marrow. There was no time to hesitate. Very quickly, boom, a soldier suddenly erupted. With flames, he'd awakened the power to control fire. Right after, a cyclone swirled around another soldier. It was wind. The effects of the fish marrow were staggering. Almost half of the soldiers successfully awakened. Fire control, wind control, super strength, gravity manipulation, all sorts of abilities. Their combat power skyrocketed in an instant. Of course, none of them could ever be as monstrously strong as you. But then, a few absolute gems emerged. A warrior actually awakened a space manipulation talent. Although it's only limited to short-range teleportation, it's already a strategic trump card. And there was another one. This guy awakened a rare soul-type talent. Scenes like these were playing out on every single ship in the fleet. And you weren't just standing around either. You leaped from the carrier's flight deck. With a light tap of your toes, you landed steadily on a massive black shape that had just surfaced from the water. It was the Dragon Kingdom's latest generation, the Type 099 nuclear submarine. Your eyes lit up. This thing is a top-tier weapon of war, but you were a bit gentle with your touch. After all, this beast needs to dive thousands of meters deep, so you couldn't mess with its structural integrity. You spent a long time picking and choosing, and finally, you set your sights on its periscope. You tore it right off, and absorbed it instantly. Absorbed the Type 099 nuclear submarine. Successfully acquired ability traits: hull strength level 9, super pressure resistance level 9, stealth level 8, dark element level 7, deep sea behemoth level 8. Just like that, over a dozen high-level traits were yours. Naturally, you weren't about to let this opportunity slip by. The gap between high-level traits and low-level ones is like heaven and earth. Immediately after, you spent some more time on 2 other types of large destroyers and absorbed them clean. Although there weren't many new abilities, the massive influx of identical talents sent your trait levels skyrocketing. Divine strength level 9, promoted to level 10. Wave breaking level 8, promoted to level 9. About 2 hours later, 10,000 portions of extraordinary essence were ready. If absorbing warships was about specialization, then absorbing these warriors' talents was about breadth. You stared at the collected golden liquid and triggered your power. Absorb, a sensation of fullness like never before, or even being on the verge of bursting, rushed into your mind. You feel like you're about to be overwhelmed by a surge of energy. Flames are uncontrollably erupting all around your body. Frost and falling rocks. Lightning, that's tens of thousands of talents flooding in all at once, causing a total loss of power control, absorbing the external energy, and merging it with your transcendent essence. You've successfully acquired talent magnetic strips. Pyromancy Master level 2, Cryomancy level 2, Wood Spirit level 3, Wall Construction level 3, Elite Soldier level 2, Scientist level 3. Countless magnetic strips are flashing across your vision. It's so dense, there's no way to keep up. Then suddenly, a massive amount of homogeneous talents begin to merge crazily, fusing and leveling up. A crimson flame bursts out from beneath your feet, instantly turning the aircraft carrier's special. Steel plating red hot and glowing. It leaves a charred, molten trail behind. Pyromancy Grandmaster level 6, and that's not all. Stormcaller level 5, Hydrokinesis level 6, Heavy Weapon Specialist level 6. But what surprises you the most is Elite Soldier level 4 and Combat Tactics Master level 5. The Dragon Nation's Navy is already the elite of the elite. And after these traits awakened, they formed direct, independent talent magnetic strips. The moment these 2 talents hit your brain, those chaotic tens of thousands of talents in your mind instantly became perfectly organized. How to use them, when to use them, it all feels like a natural instinct of your body now. Your combat power has surged by at least 30 to 40%. After spending another half hour, you finally finished integrating all your talents. Although a vast number of talents were merged away, the 700 or 800 left remaining are all either high level or extremely rare. You stand up from the deck. You have no intention of going back with them. The Dragon Nation is too vast, and there are too many rebel beasts. You have to take this chance while those future overlords and kings haven't fully matured yet, and crush them while they're still in the cradle. Commander-in-Chief, he's gone. Inside the command center, the staff officer reported, "I know." The Commander-in-Chief set down the handheld screen in his hands. It contained your entire file. He was very rational. He didn't try to stop him. "Let him go," General Cheng said. "He's a soldier who trained with us. Trust him. With his abilities, he can accomplish much more on his own." As he spoke, he switched the screen. A report was projected. The moment they saw the report, everyone's gaze froze. The report contained only one sentence. The Dragon Kingdom is in complete turmoil, or rather, the entire world is in chaos. Under the stars, the number of awakened, superpowered humans is not small. There must be tens of millions in the Dragon Kingdom alone, but there are 800 to 900 million humans prone to mutation. And mutated plants and animals, they outnumber that figure by hundreds, even thousands of times. The gap is just too massive. Full speed ahead. The commander's voice was raspy yet firm. "We must hurry to the coast and establish the first sanctuary to preserve a spark of hope for the Dragon Kingdom. In 5 minutes, flying at 12 times the speed of sound, from the open sea, you arrived directly at the southernmost city of the Dragon Kingdom. It was early morning. You remembered that in your past life, an Overlord-class beast emerged from this city's zoo. A chimpanzee. You landed directly on the top of the city's tallest skyscraper, looking down at the view below. The mutations had already been underway for 3 hours. That thing should have finished by now. You closed your eyes. Your reconnaissance ability spread out like a tidal wave, instantly covering the entire city. Filter out any energy readings below the Overlord class. The signal is coming in fast. It's in the east side of the city, an incredibly massive energy source. It's closing in on you from all directions. You open your eyes, and in a blink you vanish. 3 seconds later, you're already hovering right above that giant ape. Down below, a creature known as the Wild Star, an Overlord-level mutant beast, is having a hell of a time, standing at over 6 meters tall. With strength that's just insane. Right now, he's treating a building, some 30 to 40 meters tall, like a toy club, swinging it around wildly at everything in his path. Boom, boom, boom. That 60,000-ton building feels light as a feather in his grip. Every single swing creates a massive shockwave, sending countless people flying out from the ruins. The Wild Star opens wide, and with a powerful inhale, he sucks those people in like they're nothing more than peanuts, consuming them, one sickening crunch after another. It's a gut-wrenching sight. Having just absorbed a superhuman, the burst of energy gets him all worked up as he pounds his chest, letting out a roar that shakes the heavens. At the edge of the ruins, a few survivors are sprinting for their lives, their faces twisted in sheer despair. "It's over. Our superhuman guardian, he just absorbed him. There's no getting away now. We're done for." One man completely loses it, collapsing onto his knees right there on the ground, looking up at the sky, screaming, "Oh God, please someone save us." And just then, the sky suddenly goes dark, though the man praying doesn't even notice. He just assumes the red clouds above have gotten even thicker. But the Wild Star suddenly snaps his massive head upward. "Lord Jai, from you," he could feel power on his own level. Yet, despite there being no difference in their life force, his own body was refusing to listen. Those muscles, tougher than superalloys, those titan legs that could hold up the earth, were actually trembling right now. Why, he couldn't wrap his head around it. An irresistible pressure crashed down from the heavens. Gravity control, psychic suppression, vacuum extraction. You threw every single support talent you'd accumulated over lifetimes, slamming them all onto him at once. Wildstar felt like he was suffocating in an instant, but what terrified him most was the sky. In his mind, he didn't even register a battleship. All he saw was a shadow larger than a mountain range, blotting out the sky, smashing down directly onto his head. The sky was falling. Run, he had to run. Wildstar let out a guttural roar. A filthy black light erupted from his body. He instantly broke free from most of your control. Scrambling on all fours, he turned into a black blur, bolting away like a madman, each leap covering dozens of meters. Now, there was only one thought in his brain. If that thing from the sky hits him, he's finished for sure, but he hadn't even run 100 meters when a silver portal suddenly appeared in front of him. He couldn't hit the brakes. He slammed headfirst into the anywhere door. The next second, the silver portal opened again, right above where he had started. He came flying out, but the hull of the aircraft carrier was already touching his scalp, even before the terrifying shockwave could reach him. It had already begun to shred his flesh. I blew his skull wide open, exposing the pitch-black bone underneath. Bang! His legs were the first to dissolve into a golden mist. Then his head followed, and finally his neck and torso, facing an overwhelming weight of 500,000 tons. This arrogant, high-level lord didn't even last a single second. He was completely disintegrated in an instant. At the same time, dozens, no, hundreds of silver portals ripped open all across the city. The survivors who were desperately trying to escape were instantly teleported to safety. Just as this was finished, the 500,000-ton carrier finally touched the ground. Boom, the earth shook violently. An artificial mega-earthquake swept across the entire forest area. The shockwave instantly vaporized the whales in the sky and leveled every building in the city to rubble. Every mutant creature that had been fighting or feeding stopped dead in its tracks. In the next second, they all turned in unison. With you at the center, they scrambled in every direction like they'd lost their minds. The whole forest was cleared out by your single blow. You descended slowly to the ground, looking at the remains, now ground into dust finer than sand. It's a bit of a shame. I might have hit a little too hard. The Lord-level energy core was completely shattered. What a waste. You reached out your hand. Ability activated. Absorb. A vortex appeared, starting to pull in as much as possible of those shattered energy core particles. 5 minutes later, you stopped. Since the energy core was shattered, most of its power had leaked away. Still, it pushed your cultivation level a small step closer to the Overlord rank. But that's enough. Absorbing the Wild Star talent essence. Success. Gain talents. Disintegration level 7 and super armor level 7. Diamond level 8. The golden drill level 8. You can't help but let out a sigh of admiration. A single sentence, and it all falls apart. The diamond talent is top tier, incredibly rare. The drop rate is seriously insane. You stretch your limbs, loosening up, feeling that surge of brand new power coursing through your body. Your eyes are already locked onto the next city. Challenging the strong, that's the only way to rake in the experience. The golden drill, the Dominator's body, and chain-link talents. You're more than satisfied, especially the Dominator's body. It's nothing short of a miracle. It lets you shrug off almost every type of crowd control. Of course, you didn't just sit idle while absorbing those talents. The phantom of the aircraft carrier behind you is essentially a mobile arsenal. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Missiles are firing off like they are free, pouring out from behind you in a relentless barrage, screaming through the air with devastating force, precisely striking deep into the dark of the early morning, rooting out every nook and cranny where those mutated beasts hide. Boom, boom, boom. Entire blocks of buildings are collapsing under the energy shockwaves. Hordes of mutated creatures are being wiped out in an instant. You couldn't care less about property damage. Right now, survival is the only thing that matters. Once the energy shockwaves finally settle, down on the ground, the area is littered with shimmering energy cores. You don't even bother to pick them up. They aren't even enough to get stuck in your teeth. But for the survivors left behind, these are the sparks of hope they need to awaken their powers and stay alive. You take one last look at the city. The hangar doors of the carrier Phantom swing open. Thousands of kamikaze drones swarm out like a hive, heading straight for the thousands of hiding spots where survivors are cowering. They aren't there to hunt targets down. They're clearing a path for them to survive. Having done this much, you've already gone above and beyond. You're only one person. You can't clear out every single threat. You've handed them the weapons. You've given them a fighting chance. Whether they survive or not depends entirely on them. Do they have the guts to fight for it? You have to head somewhere more important. The Great Wall. As you travel north, drawing closer to the Great Wall, a massive, overwhelming wave of national energy and destiny slams down on you. Even your own power gets suppressed by a significant notch. In your supernatural sight, hovering above the Great Wall is not a pure golden dragon, but a beast of red and white, radiating a terrifying, murderous aura. This guardian entity, its presence is like a fatal lure to the mutated creatures. Countless swarms of mutant plague flies, rats and jackals, their spirits broken, yet they surge toward the Great Wall's gates in a reckless, death-defying tide. But the moment they step into the zone covered by the nation's destiny, the guardian entity simply flicks its tail. Swish, a ripple of red light sweeps across all the beasts below Tier 1, slicing them in half instantly. Right after, a dragon's roar echoes out, and a white shockwave descends from the sky, disintegrating a massive horde of beasts in a heartbeat. This guardian of national destiny is actually capable of active defense. What an incredible defense. You hover in the air, secretly stunned. No wonder. In your past life, the Dragon Kingdom fought tooth and nail to take back the Great Wall. It can automatically fend off over 90% of low-tier beasts. In this era of chaos, it is the most perfect sanctuary imaginable. It's just a shame that, due to poor decisions in the past, this defensive line, stretching over 20,000 kilometers, was eventually overrun by the beasts. It birthed 13 terrifying monarchs and nearly 100 overlords, becoming the eternal scar of the Dragon Kingdom. But this time, you have the chance to change everything. Those future kings and overlords, right now, they're barely even at the overlord or warlord level. For you, they're enough to push back the Great Wall. You have to seize it. Just as you're about to make your move, a massive convoy of military vehicles in the mountains is speeding fast toward the Great Wall. Suddenly, the alarm in the command vehicle goes crazy. What's going on? The commander jumps up. Report, Commander. Radar detected from the northwest. A massive amount of missile signals, and they're moving at extreme speed. Missiles. The commander's eyes go wide. Within hundreds of miles of here. Besides us, where could a missile launch be coming from? It's weird, the radar operator says, sounding totally confused. All these missiles were launched from near the Devoured Pass area, but they're all landing around the Devoured Pass, too. Launched in place, a localized energy blast. They can't figure it out. Meanwhile, high in the air, you pull back the phantom image of the aircraft carrier. That last wave of missile strikes has already cleared out a huge area around the Great Wall's perimeter. You take a flying leap and charge straight into the territory of the Devoured Pass. The red power of the nation's destiny gives a slight tremor. It seems to have recognized who you are and doesn't stop you. But you aren't the first one in. Below the city walls, a huge swarm of second-tier elite mutant creatures is huddled together. But they're all shivering, not daring to take a single step upward, because on top of the Dayama Pass city wall, there's already a much stronger entity. The mountain-moving earth dragon, a spirit lord tier mutant creature. It's a massive, grotesque lizard that has awakened a trace of draconic bloodline, nearly 30 meters long, covered in ugly, bumpy, gray-green scales. Absolutely hideous, and it's just lying there on the city wall. With its head tilted back, it flicks out a tongue, 7 or 8 meters long every now and then. Just like a venomous snake, it pierces right into the protective energy barrier above. Then, with a violent coil, it rips away a strand of the nation's core spiritual energy and swallows it down. With every strand it absorbs, a new golden dragon scale erupts from its neck. Its power level has already evolved from the early stage of a sovereign to the mid-stage. It's completely intoxicated by the ecstasy of this primal evolution, totally unaware that a single hand has already appeared silently right above its head. The next second you lunge down and grab hold of its tongue. The mountain-moving earth dragon lets out a sharp, agonizing shriek. You want to know what it feels like to have your tongue ripped out. It's pure, blinding pain, but before it can even react, you're already holding onto its tongue and start spinning it wildly like a shot put. Everything is spinning out of control. You activate your tornado talent, and within a second or two, you've whipped its tongue around hundreds of times in place. The mountain-moving earth dragon is so dizzy it's about to puke. Its tongue feels like it's about to be torn clean off. Get lost, you roar as your arm muscles explode with power, and like hurling a comet, you send its massive body flying away with a brutal force. Boom, it crashes headfirst into a mountain peak in the distance, shattering it. You piece of trash, how dare you steal the Dragon Kingdom's national energy? Get out. You leap down from the city wall, kicking back a few blind, second-tier monsters on your way down, before summoning the phantom of the aircraft carrier once again. Fighting on the Great Wall, you're worried you might tear the wall apart. Better to throw it further away, so you can finally cut loose. You go for that same simple, straightforward strike. Revitalization. Meanwhile, the mountain-moving earth dragon is just crawling out of the rubble, bellowing as it activates its own talent, Mountain Mover. He actually managed to lift up that entire mountaintop that he just snapped off. In terms of raw power, he's even stronger than both Wildheart and Zhu Kun. But the moment your aircraft carrier Phantom slammed into that mountain, asterisk crack, asterisk thanks to the level 7 trait boost, that solid mountain range became as brittle as a cracker. It couldn't even hold out for 2 seconds. The peak shattered and collapsed right down the middle, and your aircraft carrier Phantom didn't slow down at all. It smashed mercilessly into the mountain-moving earth dragon. Another sharp, crisp asterisk snap asterisk echoed out. This once arrogant mountain-moving earth dragon was cleanly and efficiently sliced in two. By your carrier, you reached out your hand, and a silver anywhere door materialized out of thin air. Before its energy core could be shattered, you snatched it up with surgical precision, but you didn't waste time checking your loot. Your gaze snapped toward the distant horizon. A golden speck of light was fleeing at blinding speed. You think you're just gonna walk away after showing up here. That golden light was moving incredibly fast, vanishing into the sky in the blink of an eye. It had to be going at least several Mach speeds, but you still managed to catch a glimpse of what it was. A Lord-class mutated creature. It probably came here to fight the Earth Dragon for territory, but the second it saw you crush the dragon, it didn't even hesitate to turn tail and bolt. It was running even faster than it had arrived. The thing isn't stupid. Lord-class creatures have high-level intelligence. It knew perfectly well that someone like you is unbeatable. It glanced back over its shoulder and saw an even more massive steel bird barreling after it from behind, moving a third faster than it was. The creature let out a piercing, high-pitched screech, instantly surging to 11 times the speed of sound. But it was no use. The gap between you and him keeps getting smaller and smaller. The spectral phantom behind you has already shifted from an aircraft carrier to a J-20 fighter jet. Its base speed has reached a staggering 125 Mach. Not bad, moving pretty fast, aren't you? With just a single thought. You use gravity control to lighten your own weight. You use air manipulation to clear away all resistance in your path. And with the Windwalker ability, you let the gale push you even faster. With this whole stack of buffs activated, Qin Peng stares in despair, realizing that even at his top speed, the difference in speed between you and him is actually growing even wider. Your speed has already skyrocketed to 160 Mach. Just then, you notice 2 more Overlord-level auras in the distance. They're rushing in from the left and right, heading toward Qin Peng's position. Yin Lang and Wu Xiang the Wild Boar, they are the helpers Qin Peng called in. Seeing Qin Peng fleeing like a stray dog, they are still shouting and questioning him loudly. The very next second, you transform into a streak of silver lightning and flash right over their heads. That's when they finally realize Qin Peng is actually being hunted. To force Qin Peng into such a pathetic state, the enemy must be at the sovereign level. They whisper to each other, their voices trembling with pure terror, but you have no intention of letting them go. You just give a casual wave of your hand downward. To the left and to the right, a massive spectral aircraft carrier and a spectral void kun descend from the sky simultaneously. Crouched on the deck of the carrier is the shadow of a wild heart, and clinging to the top of the void kun is the phantom of a mountain-moving earth dragon. You don't even bother to look back. At Qin Peng behind you, you only hear 2 deafening, thunderous roars. The auras of those 2 sovereign-level beasts vanish in an instant. Compared to crushing them and Qin Peng, the mountain-moving earth dragon is nothing compared to Yin Lang and Wu Xiang. The mansion boars in your memory are so painfully mediocre, like a couple of rocks by the side of the road. You can't even be bothered to recall them. In your previous life, Their end likely came from losing their combat power, or simply fading into the background. They were never worth mentioning. The mountain-moving earth dragon, the savage ape, and those other guys were the only ones who managed to make an impact in the future. So taking down a couple of mediocre overlords like them, what does that even mean to you? Compared to a 100,000-ton aircraft carrier, they are even more fragile than paper. Bang, the moment you landed. The dire wolf and the faceless one, the Manxian boars, shattered into a cloud of energy fragments. Who cares about their clone abilities? Is there really a difference between one weakling and 4 or 5? There was no struggle at all. It was a total joke. In less than 2 seconds, they were wiped out. Your savage ape and mountain-moving earth dragon moved in, sweeping them up in one go, 2 energy cores in hand. Immediately, the illusions dissipated, transforming back into brand-new Giant 40 fighter jets. They flew off with a loot in pursuit. And right now, you are already standing on the head of that bronze beast. It's still trying to struggle, trying to use its top speed and sharp turns to throw you off. You just stomp down with all your might. That kick carries the force of a falling mountain. It lets out a shrill, agonizing screech. Its body plummets thousands of meters. You know clearly that this thing's origin is impure. It only inherited the speed, without the sturdy physique of the big-headed bird. With that one kick, who knows how many bones in its wings are shattered? Every flap is agonizing, tearing through its nerves. It's flying in a jagged, crooked mess. Just like a drunken sot, you stand firmly pinned on its right wing, killing any hope it had of flying away. Blind rage made him forget his fear for a moment. His body spun violently like the drum of a washing machine, whipping into a high-speed frenzy. A raw, turbulent gale surged up, trying to blow you away. But you just reached out. That was it. You grabbed him by the neck, and black light erupted from his feathered body. Level 7 entity, black and white currents swirled around you, instantly nullifying all the force acting upon you. You were like a magnet, stuck fast to him, and instead, it was him who had a huge chunk of his beautiful feathers ripped out by you. He shrieked in pain, and the spinning stopped as quickly as it began. He couldn't keep this up, and you, from start to finish, didn't budge an inch. You scanned your surroundings, feeling like you'd made enough of a scene. It was time to close the net. You reached out and slowly placed your hand on his wing, your voice as cold and detached as a death sentence. All right, you've served your purpose. Hand over the energy core, and you can be exiled. The moment the words left your lips, you ripped your hand down with a savage force. Scorching golden liquid sprayed everywhere, mixing with the freezing rain falling from the sky. They were impossible to tell apart. A human, only 1.8 meters tall, successfully stripping the wing off a beast dozens of meters wide. The visual impact was absolutely extreme. His bronze-colored shriek echoed through the clouds. The severed wing plummeted into the mountains, like a row of razor-sharp blades, instantly leveling a massive patch of forest. He tried to save himself, flapping his stump as air currents surged from the wound, attempting to use his wind attribute energy to temporarily mimic a new wing. Too bad you had already looked through the torn-open wound and saw it right there inside his chest. That energy core, dark as coal, flecked with golden light. You reached in and snatched it. The energy wing he had just formed popped like a soap bubble, bursting into nothingness. With a smooth, practiced motion, you reached out, and amidst his look of utter despair, you snatched that energy core right out of his chest. He let out one final, blood-curdling scream, his life force draining away like a dam bursting open. The light in his eyes faded in an instant, until they went completely dark. The next second, his massive body plummeted downward, slamming into the mountain peak with a thunderous boom. But just a split second before he hit, you had already detached from his body, leaping gracefully onto the pursuing fighter jets. Those jets quickly locked together, shifting back into that bio-carrier hovering in the sky. You took the 2 energy cores handed to you by Wildstar and the mountain-moving dragon. With the one you just grabbed, we're finally ready to go big. But before that, there are a few pests that need taking care of. With a single thought, you activated the nuclear-powered magnetic drive. Infinite energy surged into the ship's hull instantly, and one by one, supersonic missiles materialized on the deck. A volley of 100 used to be a big deal, but now one volley means hundreds at once. The whole reason you made such a scene earlier was specifically to draw out all those self-righteous lords and beasts hiding near the Great Wall. So you like watching the drama, huh? You think you can swoop in and pick up the scraps? Within your perception, for hundreds of kilometers around, almost every single lord and beast had left the safety of their strongholds, either sneaking closer to get a better look, or camping out on some mountain to watch the show from a distance. They've stepped out from under the protection of their nation's luck, yet they have no clue that the show they're watching is actually about their own demise. Everyone's out in the open now, aren't they? Good, then let's all head to the end together. Within that fleeting moment, thousands of missiles shrieked as they launched from the deck into the sky, tearing through the sky, striking precisely at every single bystander. By the time those hypersonic missiles slammed right into their faces, they finally realized what was happening. With an average of over 100 missiles each, an endless non-stop barrage, even the big guys couldn't handle that kind of saturated energy impact, let alone them finishing them off all at once. A dozen Lord-tier mutant beasts were instantly crushed to the ground. There was only one exception, a mutant pangolin, relying on its natural talents, dove deep underground in the blink of an eye. It barely survived thanks to its defensive ability ability, but it was half dead and couldn't even move. A swarm of drones flew out from behind you to recover the scattered energy cores. As for you, you took a single step and suddenly appeared right in front of that pangolin. You've got some serious nerve. You stomped down, shattering its shell, which had already been blasted until it was brittle. A few casual smashes were all it took to end its life. This guy actually dared to get within 10 kilometers just to watch the show. If I didn't take him out, it would be an insult to his courage. You casually dug out its energy core. All right, time to eat. You first picked up the mountain-moving Earth Dragon's core. A black vortex of absorption emerged in your palm, and within seconds, the head-sized energy core was sucked right in. A massive surge of power flooded through your limbs and bones instantly. Within your metallic silver hair, at your temples, 2 wisps of hair, winding like lightning, actually sprouted, looking just like a pair of emerging dragon horns. Successfully absorbed the mountain-moving Earth Dragon and gained new talents. Magnetism, mountain-moving strength level 7, Earth Affinity level 8, and Dragon Essence level 3. Earth Dragon subspecies level 5. This primal power, it's more overwhelming than I ever imagined. If this world were just a game, then right now you've got maxed out stats, defense, agility, critical hits, armor penetration, and luck. Everything is getting stronger at its very core. So powerful you clench your fist, unable to hold back a gasp of awe. No wonder those draconic overlords of the future were such monsters. It turns out this boost is absolutely all-encompassing. But the transformation didn't stop there. Just then, the new traits you just acquired, Dragon Origin and Earth Dragon subspecies, suddenly began to resonate violently with your original Great Powers Pillar talent trait. All 3 traits on your talent tree erupted in a blinding, piercing light. In an instant, you understood. It's about national aura, the aura of the nation. The mountain-moving Earth Dragon thrives by absorbing the essence of the Great Wall, using national luck to purify its own instincts. And since you possess the Great Powers Pillar, you are, by nature, a vessel for that national luck. The Great Powers Pillar trait beats like a heart, a rhythmic pounding sensation, channeling an endless surge of national power directly into those 2 new traits. You watch in disbelief as the traits go wild, leveling up like crazy. Dragon Origin skyrockets, level 3, 4, 5, and still climbing. The light becomes more intense by the second. Finally, on the trait itself, a lifelike, majestic dragon begins to materialize. Dragon Origin, level 10. The other trait begins to evolve as well, shifting from Earth Dragon subspecies, level 5, into the true golden dragon of the nation, level 11. In a flash, you feel like you're about to transcend this mortal plane. The 2 strands of golden hair on your head stand straight up, transforming into a pair of dragon horns, shimmering with golden mist. Your eyes flash like lightning, and with every breath you take, the sound of wind and thunder roars. A golden dragon materializes, coiling around your body. Its shimmering aura wraps tightly around your entire being. If you were to pierce your skin right now, the blood flowing out would be pure, radiant gold. You exhale these words from the depths of your soul, feeling incredible. This total evolution, from your flesh to your very soul, is more satisfying than anything else in this world. So the dragon's essence is this insanely powerful. What about the essence of the great rock, then? You immediately lock your gaze onto the bronze energy core. Both dragons and rocks are legendary, top-tier existences. If the nation's destiny could refine the dragon's essence, then the rock's essence must be just as potent. As for the risk of the essences clashing, you aren't worried about that at all. Your power stems from the talent slots, and each slot acts independently. As long as the core is strong enough, you can handle as many as you want. Without a moment's hesitation, you start the absorption. The bronze energy core vanishes into the swirling vortex, absorbing the azure rock energy core. You've successfully unlocked new talent slots. Godspeed level 11, Wind Mastery level 8, Rock Essence level 3, Azure Rock subspecies level 5. Sure enough, the moment the slots were filled, that familiar process of purification began again. Suddenly, a pair of massive wings erupted from your back, spanning over 20 meters of cyan energy. But in the next second, they instantly shifted into a brilliant crimson gold, a weapon of mass destruction. This heart of yours can easily fuel and purify 4 core talents at once. Rock Essence level 10, Golden Rock Pureblood, True Rock level 10. The 2 top-tier essences within you are clearly defined and distinct, never interfering with one another. The Dragon Essence enhances you in every way, while the Rock Essence pushes your speed, your piercing power, and your armor penetration to an absolutely mind-bending level. With both top-tier essences deepening your strength, you feel that the power coursing through your body has reached its absolute peak. You're on the verge of reaching the Overlord rank. You can feel your body hitting a critical threshold. All you have to do is push past it, and your entire existence will ascend to a whole new level. You've always known one thing. To become an Overlord, you need a talent at level 10 or higher, something to serve as the foundation for your domain. For anyone else, that requirement would be a death sentence. But for you, it's nothing but a joke. The number of level 10 talents you've got, you can't even count them on one hand. You throw the mutated pangolin, the phantom wolf, and the energy cores of the mansion boar all at once into the vortex. The final fuel for your breakthrough. The energy is finally enough. Great Nation's heavy artillery level 10. Godspeed level 11, Multi-Shield Stealth level 10, Flight level 10, War Behemoth level 10, Reconnaissance level 11, Divine Strength level 10, Dragon Origin level 10, Guardian Golden Dragon True Dragon Species level 10. Peng Origin level 10, Golden Peng. Pure-blooded True Peng level 10. 11 talents at level 10 or higher, all manifesting on you at the exact same time, then frantically surging and transforming into your domain. Great Nations Heavy Artillery level 10. National Destiny Domain level 1. Godspeed level 11. Velocity Domain level 2, Multi-Shield Stealth level 10, Invisibility Domain level 1, Flight level 10, Sky Domain level 1, War Behemoth level 10, War Domain level 1, Reconnaissance level 11, Perception Domain level 2, Divine Strength level 10, Strength Domain level 1, Dragon Origin level 10, Dragon Domain level 1, Guardian Golden Dragon True Dragon Species level 10, True Dragon Domain level 1, Peng Origin level 10, Peng Domain level 1, Golden Peng Pure-blooded True Peng level 10, True Peng Domain level 1, 11 layers, 11 full layers of domains. Almost in a single second, they unfold layer upon layer, expanding around you. The smallest, the invisibility domain, clings tightly to your skin, while the vastest, the perception domain, instantly sweeps out over 1,000 kilometers, and it's still expanding, with just a gentle pulse of your power, the combined strength of those 11 layers of domains. Every living thing within your reach, that's below the Overlord rank, is instantly disintegrated. In the blink of an eye, 100 kilometers of the Great Wall were completely wiped clean. So this is what your Overlord tier power is like. An entirely new sensation washes over you. You understand it instantly. From this moment on, you are a walking sanctuary. Within your domain, material wealth and influence are meaningless. You expand 10 more domains beyond your sensory field. The golden energy hasn't even touched you yet, before it gets purified right in midair, decomposed and dissipated into the purest form of energy. That's the sheer, unreasonable power of an Overlord. Those overlords of the Dragon Kingdom who sit still for years. You admire them, but you can't do that yourself, and you don't have the patience for it either. The thought in your mind is simple and direct. Why not just drive all these guys away? Wouldn't everything be solved if you just kicked them all out? This thought fills you with a sense of relief. With your promotion to Overlord, your velocity domain has also leveled up to level 2. Your speed has effectively doubled. With a single thought, you are already more than 10 kilometers away. Therefore, for those hiding along the Great Wall, the Lord-tier beasts who dared not show their heads, their doomsday has arrived. To the current you, subduing a Lord-tier beast is not much different from crushing an ant. It's just a matter of using one more finger to swat it. You appear right in front of a Lord-tier beast. He doesn't even get a clear look at your face. You reach out, grab him, and give a quick squeeze. Snap, his bones shatter. His life is extinguished. He tries to fight back. What a joke. Your 11 layers of domains crush down on him, like an invisible mountain, pinning him firmly in place. Even moving a muscle becomes an impossible dream for him. The Lord stands before you, as fragile as a piece of paper, but before you've even had your fill of showing off, someone comes knocking on your door, looking for a fight. You jerk your head up, fierce and sharp. You feel your perception domain in the north being torn open, violently ripped apart like scrap paper. Within your range of perception, a blinding void instantly appears. Only a domain of the same level can tear through another. The intruder is a hegemon-level powerhouse too. At the very beginning of this era of change, a hegemon level is the seed of a future monarch. As long as they don't fall, 9 out of 10 will reach the summit. So this guy who just ripped through your domain is also a future monarch in the making. What guts he has. I haven't even gone after you guys yet, and you're already throwing yourselves at my feet. You let out a cold, cynical laugh. Even though your perception domain was torn open, you can still lock onto the intruder's location. They are moving at incredible speed, charging toward you with murderous intent. Meanwhile, 100 kilometers away, the six-winged tiger is burning with rage. How dare this mortal? He was just in the middle of something important. Things were just getting intense, and he actually felt someone spying on him. Does he think his private moments are something anyone can just watch? That interruption threw him completely off his game, and the white tiger beneath him is already giving him a resentful look. Who could stand for this? He tore through the intruder's domain, yet the bastard still refuses to back off. This is a direct challenge to the majesty of the Tiger King. How reckless. The six-winged tiger flaps all 3 pairs of wings, pushing his speed to the absolute limit. A black and white domain, sweeping across the bluestone ground. A circle of bluestone masters. The domain lord's kill strike, expanding like crazy, violently tearing through your sensory domain. He's calculating in his head. The opponent only has a support-type sensory domain. Their combat power definitely can't be strong. Perfect to use as a stepping stone, to show off his might and strike fear into others. The more he thinks about it, the more he feels like this is a golden opportunity. A clash of domains is the ultimate test between overlords. Whoever has the tougher domain holds the home field advantage. Your sensory domain was ripped open with ease. This made the six-winged tiger feel absolutely invincible. A surge of arrogance washed over him, even from over 100 kilometers away. His booming voice already echoed across the distance, brimming with unquestionable, pure arrogance. My friend from afar, why not just surrender to me? Your intrusion into my territory. I can let it slide just this once. You're just a support type. Even if you've reached the overlord rank, you're still the bottom of the barrel. Follow me, and I'll give you a place by my side. How about you help me conquer this world? That's what he's saying, but his domain expansion is only getting more aggressive. It's clear as day. He's trying to force you into submission through sheer power. He's genuinely curious about what kind of freak could make it to the overlord rank just by being a support. It's just absurd. A distance of over 100 kilometers is nothing more than a 30-second sprint for an overlord. You simply stay put, not even bothering to move, just waiting for him to deliver himself to your doorstep. Very soon, as the six-winged tiger gets within a few dozen kilometers and makes out your silhouette, his tiger eyes go wide as saucers. A human, how is that possible? His very first reaction is to lose control and flap all 6 of his wings in a frantic panic. Something carved deep into his very bones. The sheer terror of being dominated by a human hits him hard. It all came rushing back in an instant. His first instinct was to turn tail and run, but the very next second, that fear curdled into intense shame and blinding rage. He let out a furious roar. Shaking off the daze, he hissed, "What am I afraid of? I'm a hegemon class now. Human weapons and gadgets can't even scratch me anymore. Humans are meant to submit to me." His tone turned even more arrogant and condescending. It was practically a command to break a hegemon class human, to make them submit. Could anything in this world be more satisfying? He remembered the abuse he suffered back at the circus. The moment he mutated, the trainer was the first one he devoured. Right now, the thrill of that revenge had him trembling with excitement. But you just laughed at his demeaning, barking orders. How reckless. You had planned to toy with him a little longer, but now you just want him erased as quickly as possible. You retracted your domain and began to expand it again, ripple by ripple. First came the golden luck domain, level 1. The moment he saw another layer of domain bloom around you, the red tiger's cocky attitude wavered just a bit. He's got dual domains just like me. It's fine. He probably has one useless sensory domain. Both of mine are offensive types. The advantage is mine, he told himself, trying to stay brave. Then, you unleashed your third layer, the war domain. Level 16, winged tiger. He jerked midair, stumbling in his flight. His scalp went numb with pure dread. Triple domains. I can still take him. I can still win. He consoled himself, though his mouth had gone dry. He finally shut that arrogant, filthy trap of his. He started chanting frantically in his head. He has to have one useless sensory domain. He has to have one useless sensory domain. Secret domain, hidden trigger domain, dragon's domain, domain of the true dragon. In that same instant, the remaining domains bloomed layer by layer like petals. At that very moment, 61, the winged tiger's eyes shifted from sharp aggression to sheer panic, and then devolved into pure, unadulterated despair. That tail of his, always held high in arrogance, tucked itself between his legs in a flash. Without a single second of hesitation, he turned tail and bolted. Damn it, what the hell is this? He was roaring in his head, but he was too terrified to even let out a single curse. Those dense, overlapping layers of light, swirling around like rings of a spiral potato chip. What kind of nightmare were they? He tried to expand his own domain to gain speed and escape, but the space around him had turned viscous, like thick syrup. Both of his domains were crushed and shoved right back into his body. He took one panicked look over his shoulder and realized that what was suppressing him was actually that very same sensory domain he had mocked earlier. How? Well, the reason you were able to tear it apart before was because you had spread your domain too thin, sacrificing all its strength. But now, as you retracted your sensory domain level 2, its intensity skyrocketed. Your domain became like a massive, invisible pair of hands, squeezing and kneading his dual domains into nothingness until they were finally crushed down against his very skin, reduced to a thin film less than 2 centimeters thick. A suffocating, viscous sensation washed over him. 61, the winged tiger's speed and power were slashed to almost nothing. He felt like he had been dropped into the deep ocean, drowning in the pressure. Is this really all you've got? And you wanted to tame me? Your voice was dripping with pure disdain. Immediately after, your other domains descended upon him. The domain of speed took hold, and the winged tiger's speed was instantly slashed down to barely 2 or 3%. He realized with sheer terror that this was another level 2 domain. And then the void domain crushed down upon you. It stripped him of his ability to fly instantly. The 61X red tiger was like a plane whose engines had just cut out, flapping its wings in a desperate, futile attempt. It traced a pathetic, messy arc through the air. From thousands of meters up in the sky, it plummeted straight down, crashing into the ground below. With a deafening boom, dust and debris billowed everywhere. He wasn't dead, but the fall had left him completely dazed and battered. Just then, a dragon's roar rang out. A piercing cry of a great rock echoed through the heavens. The 61X winged tiger jolted back to its senses. It shook its dizzy head and crawled out of the crater, gazing wildly in all directions. Could there be other overlord-level beasts nearby? Like a dragon or a rock. A glimmer of hope flashed in its eyes. It strained its throat and shrieked for help. Help me, help me. It screamed, but as it did, its voice grew weaker and weaker until the sound finally died in its throat, because it finally realized that those two sources of power, so pure they made its very soul tremble, were radiating from you, A mere human. How could a human possess a power source purer than his? An ancient beast, a pure-blooded true dragon, a pure-blooded great rock. It felt as if its brain had completely shut down. In that split second of stunned disbelief, you moved like a blur, trailing light behind you. You were already hovering right above its head. With a brutal, crushing kick, boom, the 61X, Red Tiger's massive body, was driven straight into the earth by your foot. It felt the whole world spinning uncontrollably. Everything went black. When it opened its eyes, it felt strangely light, as if it had been transported back to the good old days, back when it was still the king of the forest, long before it was ever dragged into this circus. Wait, he's having a flashback already. A massive surge of power slammed into his back. You used your terrain affinity to dive right beneath him. Then, with another kick, you sent him flying out of the ground. Asterisk snap. Asterisk the agonizing pain of his wing breaking hit him, but it quickly faded into a warm, tingling numbness. He started hallucinating again. In his mind, he was riding that beautiful white tiger, just soaking it all in. Damn it, he shuddered and jerked awake. A flashback again. Large chunks of energy shards, mixed with golden fluid, came pouring out of his mouth. Just 2 kicks, and you've already brought him to the brink of losing consciousness. He tried to force his domain open to defend himself, but under the crushing pressure of your 11-fold domain, his own couldn't even manifest beyond his skin. You reached out and, just like grabbing a stray cat, you snatched the scruff of his over 10-meter-long body. You, at 1.8 meters tall, were hauling around a massive 5 to 6 meter tall tiger. It looked ridiculous, yet the 6-winged tiger went completely limp, like a tame house cat. He didn't dare move a muscle. Your assault had thoroughly awakened the cowardice buried in his bones. He was terrified. Please don't kill me. I can be your mount. You dangled him there, your gaze shifting from cold to utter disbelief. A second ago, you were screaming for me to submit. Now you're begging on your knees to be my ride. Don't you see how pathetic you look? That spineless, cowardly display made you lose all interest in the fight. Even having scum like you as a mount would be embarrassing. Besides, what makes you think I'd ever forgive your insolence? Before he could even respond, you tightened your grip. Asterisk crack. Asterisk a crisp, sharp sound echoed out. You smashed straight through his neck, piercing his vital spot. You whispered those words to his remains. Then you reached in, tore open his skull, and pulled out that blackened white energy core. The very moment he lost his life, the sky and earth suddenly let out a cry. A tiger's roar, echoing for 1,000 miles, pierced through the heavens. A massive, blood-red winged tiger, its phantom silhouette loomed in the sky, visible for 100 kilometers. The cry of a fallen powerhouse. The remnant shadow rose into the sky, and immediately, a torrential downpour began. The crimson clouds in the area would thicken by 9,000 meters within 3 days. This is the reign of a fallen master, and the ultimate badge of honor for the victor. You saw this spectacle in your past life, but this time you are the protagonist. That 6-winged tiger has lost its ability to fight. Just a roar from some fresh, newly evolved rookie. How could it ever compare to us born overlords? If it falls, it falls. The other overlords and exotic beasts lurking along the Great Wall's checkpoints sensed the commotion over here, but most just laughed with disdain, a weakling who evolved later in life. If it drops, let it drop. Meanwhile, you have already absorbed that energy core. 2 more layers of domains have manifested on your body. Corrosion domain level 1, steel sand domain level 10, a triple domain. The corrosion domain leaves a rotting force in every wound, like a decaying body, which you can even detonate. The steel sand domain is raw and brutal, a moving formation, drastically boosting your attack power and armor penetration. You smile in satisfaction as you stash the tiger's remnant into your inventory to brew some potent wine. Now that is a fine prize. Finally, with a flick of your mind, you reach out and beckon. A phantom of energy, identical to the 6-winged tiger, appears right beside you. You hop right onto its back. A mount, you curl your lips in a sneer. With a single thought, I can summon one that is absolutely loyal to me. Do you really think I still need a cowardly weakling like you to surrender? You manipulate the ethereal construct, adding a metallic sheen to its wings, strapping jet engines to its backside, transforming it into a sleek fighter jet, looking cool and moving fast. But after playing with it for a bit, you wave your hand and dismiss it. Above your head, that massive aircraft carrier slowly emerges. You leap onto it, the ultimate weapon, because when it comes to being cool, what could possibly compare to your own carrier and your hard-won record of victories? Everything else is just a toy. Amidst the bloody winds of the purple gold crown, Peng stares intensely at the spot where the 6-winged tiger fell. His wings are trembling with excitement. Brother, that 6-winged tiger is dead for sure. Let's go grab his remains and energy core. Think of how many years of grueling cultivation that would save us. The 7-colored peacock, Kong Chuan, standing opposite him, frowns. His tone is cautious. To be able to take down a 6-winged tiger, that guy's strength must be immense. What the hell are we afraid of? Peng cuts him off instantly, raising his voice an octave. That 6-winged tiger is nothing. I could crush him to death all by myself, no matter how strong that guy is. At most, he's just a natural-born overlord. It's 2 against 1, across the entire Great Wall, aside from those 2, who wouldn't have to back off when they see us. Besides, he just finished a fight. He's definitely running on fumes, and likely severely wounded. If we go now, if he dares not hand over the goods, we'll just slaughter him too. 2 sets of overlord-level flesh and energy cores, 1 for each of us brothers. These words strike right at the heart of Kong Chuan's greed. His eyes light up in an instant. Deal, let's do this right now. Once we've devoured these 2 flesh and blood energy cores, we're gonna go take another fortress for ourselves. ourselves. One for each of us. If we don't move fast, someone else is gonna swoop in and steal the loot. The black rock spread its wings, ready to charge, as 3 layers of energy fields rippled and hummed around it. But the very next second, a deafening roar thundered from directly above. The blood-red clouds were torn apart like paper. A shadow massive enough to blot out the sky descended right over them. You were piloting a million-ton aircraft carrier, hovering silently right above their heads the whole time. You'd been hiding in plain sight using a cloaking field, if not for the sheer force of the wind from the carrier's dive, stirring up their senses. Those 2 idiots wouldn't have even known you were there until they were dead. Without even bothering to fire your cannons, you took control of that steel beast and slammed it down on them with everything you had. 1,000,000 tons of weight came crashing down, the friction with the atmosphere setting the air itself on fire. The Black Rock and Kong Chuan turned pale as ghosts. They instantly detonated every single energy field they had. 7 whole layers, including 1 at level 2. They fought for their lives, pushing their power up against the hull. But it was useless. Their level 1 fields shattered the second they touched the ship's bottom. Only Kong Chuan's defensive field and the Black Rock's level 2 field managed to hold out for even half a second. In the next moment, they were swatted away like 2 flies, flying off in opposite directions and smashing straight through 2 mountains. Dust and debris shot into the sky. The Black Rock crawled out from the rubble, dizzy and dazed. The feathers on his head were soaked in blood. He was completely stunned. In all his years, he'd never seen a monster that could use pure, raw force to tear through energy fields like that. But before he could even gather his wits, he looked up and his heart nearly stopped. The guy who, just a moment ago, was acting like his best brother, Kong Chuan, the one who swore to live and die by your side. They had already flapped their wings and escaped hundreds of meters away. His eyes turned bloodshot on the spot. He started screaming curses at the direction Kong Chuan was fleeing, each shout filled with the raging fury of being betrayed by a brother. He even screamed until his voice cracked, but Kong Chuan didn't even look back. If anything, he flapped his wings even faster. In his eyes, that brotherhood nonsense was all just bullshit. When it comes to survival, it's every man for himself. As long as he could run faster than the Black Rock, he definitely wouldn't be the one to die. Standing on the aircraft carrier deck, you watched this farce unfold. You just found it laughable. In the face of absolute power, these pathetic little tricks are completely useless. You made a decision immediately. You unleashed the Sky Domain, along with the Speed Domain, and 5 other powerful domains, locking the escaping Black Rock in place. You leaped onto the deck and jumped onto the fighter jet, the 404 fighter, or should I say, the Golden Rock fighter. Its frame was reinforced with the bones of the golden winged rock. Its speed was several times faster than the real thing at its peak. The moment the engine roared to life, you transformed into a streak of light, chasing after the direction Kong Chuan had fled. Only a few seconds later, Kong Chuan heard the sonic boom of the pursuit closing in behind him. He turned back instinctively, and with one glance he saw the Black Rock struggling frantically, pinned down by the carrier's pressure, unable to break free at all, and you were already less than 100 meters behind him. He was stunned for a moment, but then greed flared in his eyes. In his mind, you had left your strongest killing intent and most of your domains. Back where the carrier was, the one chasing him now was just you and that weird-looking iron bird. He possessed 4 different domains, both offensive and defensive. Surely, he could pull off a counterkill against you, right? But as soon as that thought crossed his mind, the moment that thought even crossed his mind, you crushed it into nothingness. The very next second, a massive explosion of power erupted from your body. The 8-fold domain, war perception, dragon blood. True dragon's blood, true tiger's den, true tiger's might. 1 layer more ferocious than the last. The sheer pressure was so intense it stiffened Kong Chuan's wings midair. His face turned green instantly. Any hope of fighting back was completely wiped from his mind. He turned tail and scrambled to escape for his life. But it was too late. You were in full control of the battle. The golden peng swooped right over his head. With a savage sweep of its talons, it knocked him straight out of the sky and onto the ground. He slammed into the earth, leaving behind a massive, deep crater. Before he could even crawl out, your fighter jet's weapon bays swung wide open. 6 guided missiles locked on with a menacing whistle, slamming down toward him with pinpoint precision. A chain of deafening explosions rocked the area. Kong Chuan rolled and dodged with everything he had, desperately trying to block with his domain. But even then, 3 of the missiles hit him dead on. His wings snapped on the spot, and he was covered in blood. You dove the fighter jet straight down. The jet extended a pair of massive, electrified claws from its belly, aiming them directly at his head. If that hit connected, his skull would be crushed like an egg. But just then, a sudden twist of fate. The earth cracked open with a thunderous roar. Several emerald green willow branches, shimmering with starlight, burst violently from the ground. One parried your claws away, while the others wrapped tightly around Kong Chuan, dragging him back into the depths. Someone dared to snatch your prey right out of your hands. Your eyes turned cold and sharp, and your rage boiled over instantly. You grabbed that willow branch reaching for you with a backhand grip and poured every ounce of strength into your arms. You ripped the entire branch that was buried deep underground right out, and with 2 loud cracks, you snapped its 2 core willow branches clean off. Deep underground, The Star Valley Willow felt a surge of agony, its branches shuddering in pain. You realized exactly what this thing was. The Star Valley Willow King, a brutal powerhouse ranked second among the future 13 kings of the Great Wall. Even now, it's already touching the threshold of the king tier. But so what? If it dares to touch your prey, it's going to pay in blood. The Willow King tried to use the moment its limbs snapped to rescue both Hai Peng and Kong Chuan. You let out a cold, furious laugh. You instantly retracted the aircraft carrier and all your domains that were suppressing Hai Peng, unleashing all 15 layers of your domain at once. Your momentum doubled in an instant. The surrounding blood rain was vaporized in a flash. In this entire world, nothing remained but the surging, terrifying power of your domain. You grabbed the core branch the Willow King was pulling back, letting it drag you along as it retreated. That saved you the trouble of hunting down its main body. The Willow King panicked instantly. It couldn't possibly drag a nightmare like you straight to its true core. In a desperate move, it severed the core branch, choosing to sacrifice its own essence just to break free from you. But it never expected that you had already used your guidance domain, carrying the aircraft carrier with you, to quietly sneak right above the valley where its main body was hidden, just as all 33 core branches of the Willow King exploded upward, creating a canopy of starlight to shield the sky. The shadow of your million-ton aircraft carrier suddenly materialized out of the void. Right below lay the Willow King's main body, a 100-meter-tall tree, covering an area the size of 4 or 5 football fields, surrounded by 8 layers of its own domain. It was on the verge of evolving into a king-tier monster. It had truly reached the absolute peak of the Overlord tier. But in front of you, it's nothing. You went for that same brutal, unstoppable move. Sheer, overwhelming force, wielding a million-ton aircraft carrier, loaded with the overwhelming might of 15-layered domains, smashing it down with everything you've got. The Willow King pushes with every ounce of his strength, trying to bind and catch it with all his willow branches and domain power. A face contorted in struggle emerges from the tree trunk. He is pulling out all the stops, but under the crushing weight of those 15 domains, his 8-layered domain is flattened against the ground like a thin pancake. 33 core willow branches are bent to their breaking point, groaning with an unbearable, piercing screech. He simply cannot hold it back. You stand on the deck of the carrier this episode, your voice as cold as ice, echoing throughout the entire valley. If you dare to snatch someone from my hands, you'd better be ready to die. Today, those two and you are all hitting the road to hell. As the words leave your lips, you push your movement technique to the limit again. With all your innate buffs activated at full power, the downward force of the aircraft carrier surges even higher. This is the final straw that breaks the camel's back. A series of snapping sounds rings out in rapid succession. The Willow King's core branches shatter one after another. His 8-layered domain collapses with a thunderous roar. The million-ton steel behemoth, carrying the destructive power to shatter the world, crashes straight into his main body. 3 deafening explosions ring out back to back. You crush your way right through the heart of the star willow tree. The points of light formed from stellar energy are as brittle as paper before you, shattering at the slightest touch, bursting into a sky full of stardust. And it's not just the star rise. The core branches he relied on for survival are splitting and exploding under your absolute pressure. In just a few short seconds, most of his branches are completely wasted. The face on the tree trunk twists into a mangled mess. He lets out a blood-curdling roar, his voice filled with pure terror, regretting ever taking on this lousy mission and provoking a monster like you. I've taken a hell of a loss this time. Its main body is rooted deep in the canyon. No matter how much of a home field advantage a plant-based transcendent has, it's still cursed with the fate of being unable to run. So what if it's a peak-level overlord? When faced with you, it doesn't even have the right to dodge. Watching you crash down with an aircraft carrier in your grip, it goes insane, thrusting every single one of its frail, ordinary willow branches up to block you. It screams toward the horizon, "Bamboo Dragon, save me." The moment the name Bamboo Dragon hits your ears, your nerves instantly tighten. Among the 13 kings of the Great Wall, the Star Willow ranks second. That means the one in first place is the undefeated legend, the Bamboo Dragon. You curse out loud on the spot, your frustration exploding into a string of expletives. You beat the little one, so the big one shows up. You beat the big one, so the old one shows up. These bastards usually fight each other to the death over territory, but now they're teaming up. Before the words even left your mouth, a blood-red, terrifying dragon claw phantom slams into the battlefield, holding its ground right above the Star Willow's head. The phantom's aura is no less impressive than the Star Willow's main body. It is unimaginably strong. From the horizon comes a golden-red dragon roar, striking down like a falling star. With a human face and snake body, its eyes are filled with dread. As its eyes open and close, day and night alternate. With every breath, it controls the cycle of the seasons. It is indeed the Bamboo Dragon. You see through it in an instant. It just broke through to the king class, and its aura hasn't even stabilized yet, but it was already dragged out here to save the day. It stares at you, those eyes filled with nothing but cold, murderous intent. Its voice is chilling. If I let you keep devouring, no one in the demon race will be able to stop you. And more importantly, in every single timeline, you've cut off my path. So you have to die today. What does it matter if you're a king tier? That remark just fueled your inner rage. You saw right through him. That dragon claw phantom was just a stall tactic. If you let him land his main body, you'd be on the defensive. Since that's the case, you'd better shatter that phantom along with the Star Willow tree. Gold tier diamond drill, level 8. You unleashed your talent, focusing a fierce golden drill tip right under the aircraft carrier's prow. And the craziest part, you forced that million-ton carrier to spin like an industrial drill bit, even though the carrier was incredibly heavy, and the rotation speed wasn't exactly top tier. The sheer explosive force and crushing pressure nearly made Bamboo Dragon and the Star Willow pop their eyes out in shock. A split second later, crack, the Dragon Claw Phantom shattered into streaks of molten light, utterly destroyed. Immediately after, the Star Willow let out a piercing shriek. You drilled right through its last remaining core branch, smashing it to bits. The tree that once boasted a canopy as thick as a forest was reduced to a bare, pathetic stump in an instant. Before it could even react, you slammed the aircraft carrier hard against its main trunk. A piercing sound of wood splintering exploded through the air. You split that massive trunk right in two, just as Bamboo Dragon landed, swatted the carrier away with a claw, and desperately sacrificed his own golden core energy to keep the Star Willow breathing for one last second. You were already long gone, slipping to the other side of the battlefield. You were holding the seven-colored peacock, Kong Chuan, by the neck with one hand, like another goose waiting for the slaughter. This so-called king of the future, who had been trying to flee a moment ago. His feathers were dull and gray. He was covered in blood, and his head had already been twisted off and tossed aside. All that remained was torn flesh and exposed bone. Bamboo Dragon turned to see this scene, and his face turned as dark as a soot-covered pot. You flashed him a twisted grin and tightened your grip on Kong Chuan's neck. You reached into the light and ripped it upward, hard. A vibrant, shimmering seven-colored energy was torn straight out by your hand, right in front of his face. You opened your mouth and swallowed that energy core whole. Your talent vortex spun like crazy. A massive surge of power flooded into your body in an instant. Seven-colored Peacock Domain, Level 1. Peacock Bloodline Domain, Level 1. Seven-colored Protection Domain, Level 1. Laser Attack Domain, Level 1. 4 layers of domains fully stacked, along with a bunch of secondary talent stats, all yours now. 19 layers of domain enhancement. The aura around you exploded in power. It was so intense that even the air began to crackle and hiss. Zhulong couldn't hold back anymore. His worst nightmare was finally coming true. If he let you keep devouring like this, it wouldn't be long before you, a mere overlord tier, could hunt down a king tier. He transformed into a streak of terrifying light. In a blink, he lunged right at you. You have no idea how terrifying the physical power of a king tier is, just by raw physical strength alone. His power, his speed, and his defense are miles ahead of any overlord boosted by a domain. He intended to use his crushing tier advantage to snuff you out instantly, to nip the threat in the bud before it grew any further. But the moment he dove into your domain, his figure lurched and slowed down. 19 layers of domains, stacked one upon another. They were as thick and heavy as the deep, dark sea. Even though he was a king tier, he felt like he was sinking into a bottomless swamp. His speed dropped by more than half in an instant, relying on your level 2 extreme speed domain. You dodged his lethal strike with ease. Zhulong's face turned sour. He couldn't save his pride now. A king tier, actually suppressed by the domain of an overlord tier. Right there, he forced his golden core to activate. A burst of unwavering, eternal light erupted. It forcibly shoved aside the crushing pressure of your domain. He agreed to open one too. First, a blast of scorching, blinding white sun exploded right in front of you. It seared your eye sockets charcoal black. Tears streamed down your face uncontrollably. The very next second, the bright daylight instantly plunged into endless darkness. You couldn't see a thing. Then, immediately after, a wild wind, oscillating between freezing cold and scorching heat, flooded your nose, mouth, and ears. Your sense of hearing, your sense of smell, and your perception of temperature were all thrown into chaos. In just a split second, almost all of your senses were completely shut down. This is his innate ability. Sensory blackout. He toys with his enemies in the palm of his hand. With a sinister smirk, he bypassed the aircraft carrier shielding you. His dragon claw, charged with unstoppable essence-infused power, thrust straight toward your heart from behind. Humans are laughably fragile, but the moment his fingertips pierced through your body, his smile froze. Wait, this is a fake. He looked up sharply, only to see you in the sky, accompanied by 8 clones, 9 figures in total, surrounding him completely. A multi-shadow clone maneuver, perfectly executed. 8 clones, plus you, the original. Exactly 9, not one more, not one less. You raised an eyebrow at him, your tone radiating pure, surging energy. A group beatdown? Yes, you hit the nail on the head. Zhulong looked at you with utter disdain, mocking you with a cold sneer. Don't even mention 9 clones. Even if you had 90, do you really think you can break my essence shield? It's useless. You can't even sense where I am right now, can you? You curled your lip, not even bothering to waste your breath on him. He might be able to mess with your senses, but your sensory domain, powered by the Dragon Kingdom's Skynet and electronic surveillance tech, locks onto every frequency, from light to heat. You know exactly where he is, better than he knows himself. And since the target is locked, it's time to go for the kill. With one word, show that guy what you and your brothers are made of. Your main body, the Thunder Vajra drill, plus 8 clones, all 9 of you pushing at once. That over 1 million ton aircraft carrier, empowered by the 9-layered Thunder Vajra drill, transforms into a golden hurricane, spinning so fast it's just a blur. You've even given this move a name. Million-ton aircraft carrier. Rasengan, enjoy this. At your command, the Rasengan slams down with earth-shattering force, smashing straight into Zhulong. A deafening boom rings out. The ground trembles violently. Where Zhulong was just standing, a massive crater is blasted into the earth. But you don't let your guard down for a second. Sure enough, a piercing grinding sound echoes from the bottom of the pit. The spin of the aircraft carrier has been forcefully brought to a halt. A crimson glow of bloodlust erupts. You see that on Zhulong's hands. He's now wearing a pair of dark red gauntlets. That's a signature weapon. Something only a king-tier fighter could forge. He used those gauntlets to block your lethal strike. But at what cost? His gauntlets are chipped and cracked all over, and his arms are covered in dense, spiderweb-like fractures. If his golden core weren't frantically pumping out life force, his arms would have already been blown into nothing but blood and mist. Gritting his teeth, he flings his arms, throwing the aircraft carrier far away. He's trying to stop you from attacking again, but the moment he looks up, he goes completely numb. 8 more aircraft carriers are hovering in the sky right above him, bows pointing downward, with those spinning Rasengan's primed and ready to fire. Blotting out the sky and sun, your clone could still pinpoint the aircraft carrier. You'd already sent your clone off, scrambling excitedly to go pick it up. That aircraft carrier that was just knocked away. It was obvious that you, Yang, were doing this on purpose. A wave of 8 aircraft carrier bombardments, followed by a wave of 9-fold fusion spiral Rasengan. Over and over again. Even if he's at the king level, he's going to be worked to death by you. Zhulong's face twitched uncontrollably. He knew if this kept up, he was as good as dead. He looked at you and suddenly calmed down. A ruthless smile appeared on his face. You really want to see my trump card? Fine, then I'll show it to you. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden core in his chest shrank by half in an instant. A terrifying surge of energy exploded, making your pupils shrink. Energy conservation. He burned through half his golden core. This move must be terrifyingly powerful. A wise man knows when to retreat. Without a second thought, you jumped onto your hypersonic fighter jet. You floored the throttle and took off in a flash. Once his burst of energy passes, he's bound to be exhausted. I'll circle back and finish him off then. Talk about playing it smart. But just at that moment, Zhulong's 4 eyes instantly turned a blinding white. The power of fate and time, pushed to its absolute limit, he actually managed to rip open a path through the chaotic currents of time. At the end of the path stood his future self. Himself, he screamed at the end of the path with all his might. Help me, the future Zhulong frowned deeply. He let out a sigh of pure despair, yet he still broke through the collapsing path of time, turning into a streak of light and merging into his body, opening a path through time, borrowing power from the future. That was his ultimate trump card. In an instant, the dragon's aura surged uncontrollably, from the early stage of the monarch rank to the mid-stage, all the way to the late-stage peak. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the absolute zenith of the monarch rank. A violent shockwave tore through the air. Those 8 aircraft carriers crashing down were halted instantly, as if frozen in place. With a casual flick of his hand, all 8 spinning carriers were batted away like toys. They slammed into the ground, causing mountains to crumble and the earth to split apart. At this point, even if you threw another aircraft carrier Rasengan at him, he would catch it without even breaking a sweat. And what's even deadlier is his speed. It has already surpassed the absolute limit of your level 2 speed domain. You glanced back over your shoulder, and your heart sank straight to the pit of your stomach. There's no getting away now. If you keep running, it's a dead end. You gritted your teeth. The trump card you were saving for the very end, you have no choice but to use it now. You violently jerked the steering to turn around. You stopped running. Instead, you headed straight toward the Great Wall at Jiayong Pass, charging toward it like a madman. The dragon was in hot pursuit behind you, his blood-red eyes locked onto you with murderous intent. You aren't escaping today. You aren't escaping today. Once I kill you, my path forward will finally be clear. You looked back and flipped him off with a middle finger, laughing maniacally. Run, who said I was running? When the hell did I ever run from you? So what if you're at the peak of the monarch rank? Watch as I devour the Great Wall right here, right now. As soon as the words left your mouth, you threw yourself against the wall of the Great Wall and bit down hard. You pushed your Devour ability to the absolute limit. The next second, a notification exploded in your mind. Devoured the Great Wall, successfully obtained the talent trait, Great Wall Guardian level 15. Just this one talent alone boosted you by 15 levels instantly. A massive, raging tidal wave of energy erupted from your body. The Great Wall, having stood since the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods, across several dynasties, 21,196.18 kilometers. It carries the legacy of the Dragon Kingdom, spanning thousands of years, hundreds of millions of soldiers, and the unyielding will and hope of countless descendants. It has witnessed countless battles, it has seen protectors, and it has seen prayers. Throughout the endless passage of time, countless souls have walked along its path. Some fell in battle, while others returned victorious. Countless gazes and heartfelt blessings have all been cast upon this very place. The Great Wall has shielded the people of the Central Plains for thousands of years, and beneath the foundations of this 10,000-mile wall lie the remains and the indomitable spirit of countless heroes. Great Wall Guardian, Rank 1. Upon acquiring this talent, you become a vessel for the collective will of others, bearing their faith, their hope, and all forms of spiritual strength. The heart possesses immense power. The more people who believe in you, and the stronger their conviction becomes, the greater the surge of power you will receive. 2. You may choose to permanently consume this talent and the spiritual energy you have accumulated to gain a massive temporary boost in strength. 3. Within the effective range of this talent, you can also empower your teammates. 4. Once you possess this talent, your own will has become one With the true Great Wall, within the reach of the Great Wall, your power will be bolstered by the thousands of years of spiritual essence accumulated within it, granting you peerless, overwhelming strength. The closer you are to the Great Wall, the stronger the boost you receive. 5. You have total authority to command the Great Wall's energy, drawing upon the will and power accumulated over time. The higher your Great Wall Guardian rank, the greater the recognition you receive from the wall itself, and the more energy you will be able to unleash. 6. This talent does not require active cultivation. The rank, it only fluctuates based on the amount of conviction and belief, anchored to the one gifted with the talent. The Great Wall has stood guard over the Dragon Kingdom for 5,000 years. What truly repels the enemy from beyond has never been the thousands of miles of stone walls. That's right, the true barrier against the enemy has always been flesh and blood, human willpower, and the hearts of the people. As he sensed this unique talent he had just acquired, Cheng felt an overwhelming sense of heaviness. Even after obtaining this talent, Cheng didn't start building it up from zero. Instead, he immediately possessed a Great Wall Guardian rank of 15. This meant that during the process of devouring, he had directly inherited a massive amount of accumulated willpower from the Great Wall itself. In that moment, Cheng felt a heavy weight upon his shoulders, because all of this willpower was actually something Cheng had stripped away from the Great Wall. Using his own talent, energy of will can only be transferred, not copied. Even with Cheng's super Devour talent, he couldn't achieve a complete absorption or a perfect replication of the rank. The Great Wall is, at its core, simply too powerful. Rank 15 was merely the limit of what Cheng could handle right now, not the limit of the Great Wall's own will. Cheng could feel an immense pressure bearing down on his soul. This accumulated energy of will wasn't purely benevolent. Of course, for the Dragon Kingdom to stand tall for thousands of years, it couldn't possibly be a nation of pure, untainted goodness. Intent to kill, hatred, the desire to protect, longing for home, slaughter, pride, all sorts of different emotions and wills pressed down upon Cheng's spirit, pinning him exactly at the edge of his tolerance. The mental strain on Cheng was enormous. Cheng assumed this was just the price to pay for becoming a vessel for such willpower. But in the next second, the pressure on him suddenly vanished. Cheng exposed the secrets of the demon race and the mutated creatures. The conviction to purge the chaos and protect the Great Wall was finally recognized. They no longer placed any pressure on Cheng. The very will of the Great Wall began to aid him. It started to resonate in perfect harmony with his own spirit. And in that moment, Cheng could finally feel it. The power within him began to surge, exploding with raw energy. Cheng, who was planning to flee even further away, immediately stopped in his tracks. He spun around, charging back toward the front. He headed straight for the Jiang Pass of the Great Wall, which he had just crossed. Why the hell would he keep running? Right now, standing on the Great Wall, Cheng was at his absolute peak. The closer he stayed to the wall, the stronger he became. If he ran any further away, the protective will of the Great Wall wouldn't be able to reach him, and he wouldn't stand a chance against that bamboo dragon. He was going to face the bamboo dragon right here, by the Great Wall. As for whether the Jiang Pass would be damaged in the process, once the spirit of the Great Wall had been awakened and had begun to resonate with him, the Great Wall itself underwent a miraculous transformation. Vast ripples of cyan and white light rose up from the ground around Jiang Pass. These were the crystallized wills of countless souls from the past, and now they were all awakened. Along the massive stone bricks of the wall, a strange and brilliant glow began to shine. There were flashes of blood red, deep cyan black, and the cold, hard glint of iron. Every single color represented a different, indomitable spirit forged in the past. They clung to the ancient bricks, stretching out into the infinite distance. The wall, once just a pile of stacked stones, instantly took on an aura of absolute, indestructible power. Even on the ramparts of Jiang Pass, thousands of phantom soldiers appeared. 10,000, 100,000, a million, stretching as far as the eye could see. They stood in perfect formation along the wall, clad in armor, with blades drawn, ready for war. The battle for the dragon's victory. They are the echoes of the past, still slumbering, and the lingering wills and obsessions of the elite soldiers who died right here. All of them gathered together. No one knows exactly when the Great Wall began to stir. Like a colossal dragon coiled within the river, it has awakened. Cheng stands atop the Jiang Pass, and it feels as though he is standing upon the very claw of this giant dragon that guards the land. He is waiting for the bamboo dragon to arrive. Empowered by the sheer will of the Great Wall's defense, Cheng's current power is truly unfathomable. Even the bamboo dragon, in the heat of his pursuit, couldn't help but be caught off guard by this sudden, drastic shift. He stares at Cheng, standing tall on the ramparts. At this moment, the Jiang Pass, it truly feels like a razor-sharp dragon's claw striking out at him. On a spiritual level, the bamboo dragon sees that massive claw looming, as if it wants to crush him in its grip. Fortunately, as a king-tier entity, the bamboo dragon possesses a top-tier will. Deep within his golden core, he barely manages to stir up some awakened, immortal strength. Relying on the immune to all laws trait, he manages to hold his ground. Cheng hasn't even struck yet, but the Great Wall has already seized the initiative. The bamboo dragon is, after all, a top-tier powerhouse, and the Great Wall is, at its core, an inanimate object without a pilot. It only acts on autonomous defense, so the destructive power it can unleash is limited. The bamboo dragon shakes his head violently, feeling a sharp, stinging pain in his brain. But thankfully, it's something he can handle. He glares down at Cheng below, Cheng's eyes are glowing a brilliant, blinding white, with a faint, chilling blue light deep within his pupils. It's almost too intense for the bamboo dragon to look at. It's all pure energy, the power of his will. The light flowing through Cheng's eyes, changing colors, is merely a manifestation of the massive will energy, overflowing from within him, even from Cheng's very body. Blue wisps of mist and hydrogen gas are constantly spilling out. You can only imagine the sheer scale of the power he's holding back. The sheer divine power coursing through Chen right now is so overwhelming. The incredible talents of a transcendent warrior of essence, energy, and spirit can generally be divided into these three distinct categories. And right now, the divine wings on Cheng have reached their absolute peak. Among those who have transcended, will can alter reality itself, and divine intent can kill. At every great fortress along the Great Wall, which is where the core of the nation's destiny is condensed, a divine dragon of destiny, shimmering in colors of blood and slaughter, soars above. They used to be coiled atop the great fortress walls, but now, this dragon of destiny is wrapped tightly around Cheng. With a single wave of his hand, the divine dragon obeys and descends into his grasp, transforming into a crimson long blade, radiating with the aura of blood and battle. With a fierce, murderous look on his face, Cheng points the blade toward the Zhulong in the sky and roars, "You beastly savage, come and fight." Chapter 36, Exiling the Zhulong, Retaking the Great Wall. The blood blade, temporarily formed by the divine dragon of national destiny, bridged the gap between Cheng and the power of the Zhulong's artifact. Facing the sudden changes in Cheng and the Great Wall, Zhulong felt a flicker of caution. But at this moment, Cheng had already lunged forward, slashing down with his long blade. He had no choice but to parry. A screeching, ear-piercing sound rings out. The figures of Cheng and Zhulong collide in midair and instantly break apart. Opening his claws, Zhulong stares in disbelief, seeing that right in the center of his life-bound artifact. A white mark has been cut directly into it. That white scar was the mental will infused within Cheng's attack, which had pierced straight into his artifact. It was even more troublesome than the suppression domain from before. Zhulong tried to cleanse it, but found he couldn't clear it away instantly. Yet Zhulong had no time to think any further, because Cheng had already turned around and was attacking again without a moment's pause. His eyes were filled with nothing but cold, unadulterated killing intent, that even the bamboo dragon, a king among beasts, feels a chill down his spine. Those eyes of his are completely void of emotion. Any trace of Cheng's own feelings has been suppressed by these alien wills, but that is precisely why he is able to unleash such devastating strength. Zhulong turns his head, only to realize that somehow Chen had left behind a clone right behind him. Its target, one of his two dragon-like heads. Zhulong dodges the clone's strike, but the main body's attack plunges deep into the palm of his hand. 2 strikes, the crimson blade, hitting the exact same spot with perfect precision. Chen's second strike pierced right through the gap carved by the first. The blade tore through, emerging from the other side. Chen has skewered Zhulong's hand completely. Zhulong flares his nostrils and inhales deeply. A frigid arctic chill, more intense than anything before, is unleashed. His goal is to freeze Chen solid, or at the very least, slow him down. Chen is simply too strong right now, and way too fast, having just borrowed power from the future. Even a peak-level king like him can't seem to gain any upper hand. Right out of the gate, his artifact was shattered, and his dragon claw was slashed. It's absolutely unthinkable. As the cold current floods into his body, a layer of blue ice crystals instantly coats Chen's skin, suspended there in the sky. His movements suddenly become sluggish, but before Zhulong can even catch his breath, the ice on Chen's body shatters into pieces. The entire process from freezing to breaking took less than 1/10 of a second. Chen is back to full speed in an instant. Because the freezing lasted such a fleeting moment, caught the bamboo dragon completely off guard while its defenses were down. That single strike sliced a horn clean off its head. Super Armor Level 7. Even though that talent affix isn't exactly high tier, it sure packs a punch when it matters. The crimson gold dragon horn broke off, plummeting toward the mountains below. With a deafening boom, it hit like a bolt of lightning tearing through the sky, instantly shattering a massive hilltop. A dragon's horn is the very essence of its power, brimming with immense energy. It's more than just a trophy. It's a rare, potent medicine of flesh and blood. You could even refine it into a powerful magical artifact. Even the bamboo dragon itself relies on that horn to unleash some of its most lethal attacks. Under normal circumstances, a treasure like that would spark a bloodbath of people fighting to claim it. But right now, as it lies there in the dirt, nobody even glances at it. Cheng and the bamboo dragon are locked in a frantic life-or-death struggle. Neither of them has the mind to care about a severed horn. As for the other Overlord-class beasts, once they felt the terrifying aura of this battle, they were desperate to get away, avoiding it like the plague. No one dares to get anywhere near this fight. And the lower-tier mutated creatures, even the Lord-class demon beasts can't escape in time. As Cheng and the bamboo dragon streak right over their heads, the mere shockwaves from their clash ripple downward, and these Lord-class demons are instantly crushed to pieces by the sheer pressure. As for the even weaker elite-class mutated monsters, they aren't even worthy of being noticed by Cheng and the dragon. With the ancient will of the Great Wall's guardians fully awakened, the fortress's self-defense system has leveled up. It's not just the common mutated monsters. Even the much stronger elite-class beasts can't withstand the crushing weight of the Great Wall's aura and will anymore. Every single biomutant caught within that radius was wiped out instantly. It didn't take long at all. The biomutants lurking near the Great Wall suffered hundreds of millions of casualties in one fell swoop. The lords and demon clans stationed around Jiayong Pass were absolutely slaughtered, left with nothing. The apex predators guarding the neighboring strongholds didn't even stick around. They packed up and fled. They were terrified of getting caught in the crossfire between Kitchen and the bamboo dragon. They kept their distance, staying far away, with Kitchen dragging the battlefield along. The fight between him and the bamboo dragon was still deadlocked, but he had already cleared out the threat, spanning thousands of miles of the Great Wall. Kitchen never lost sight of his original mission. He kept killing and devouring the mutant demon hordes, both inside and outside the wall. His ultimate goal was to snatch the Great Wall back from the hands of the mutants and secure it as a sanctuary for the Dragon Kingdom. It wasn't just about blindly chasing power for himself. That was just something he did along the way. Plus, as Kitchen dragged the bamboo dragon from one battlefield to the next, he established a resonance of will. With the thousands of miles of the Great Wall, he activated the Great Wall Sentinel on every single section of the fortresses. Once these fortresses had their sentinels activated, they could no longer be occupied by the mutants. They couldn't be destroyed or seized anymore. Thanks to Kitchen's actions, the wall was being reclaimed at lightning speed. And as Kitchen activated more and more sections, the power of will surging within him grew more overwhelming by the second. That last strike of his actually cleaved off half of the bamboo dragon's tail. Right now, the bamboo dragon, one hand just having deflected Kitchen's blood-red blade, while the other clutched that freshly severed, blood-drenched tail, looked absolutely rattled. He was starting to get scared. If this battle kept dragging on, and Kitchen managed to activate even more of the wall, the power within the naval orange, could it really push him to reach an even higher realm? Zhilong could feel it. Cheng seems to have already surpassed the king tier. He's taken a half step beyond transcendence. Just another half step, and he'll be well beyond the king tier. But after fighting for this long, Zhilong discovered a weakness in Cheng. He realized it too. As long as he gets further away from the Great Wall, the power within Cheng starts to fade. Now, Zhilong is facing a dilemma with two difficult choices. Should he keep trying to stop Cheng from activating more of the Great Wall's sentinels? Or while Cheng's strength hasn't completely overwhelmed him yet, should he just turn and run as far as he can? The further away, the better. If he gives up on the Great Wall now, he's afraid Cheng really will break through even further, reaching the absolute peak beyond the king tier. By then, the Great Wall will have absolutely nothing to do with him anymore. Once again, he took another hit from Cheng. This time, even a clone was enough to knock Zhilong back. Gritting his teeth, Zhilong finally made his choice. No matter what he decides, the end result probably won't change anyway. Cheng is taking back the Great Wall, and he simply can't stop it. Is he really going to stand his ground until the end, just to end up throwing his own life away? While the power from the future is still surging within him, Zhilong turns around, abandoning the fight against Cheng. He chose to run, and Cheng only chased him for a few dozen kilometers before coming to a stop. It wasn't because if he kept chasing, the suppression effect would disappear. It was because if he kept fighting like this, kept going like this, using the concentrated power of the Great Wall's will, Cheng's own will would soon be worn away to nothing. It wasn't like he was paying no price at all. Chapter 37, Nanny-level guidance. Watching Zhilong get driven off, Cheng didn't pursue him any further. Instead, he immediately sat down in midair to meditate. The power of the Great Wall's vigil is starting to overwhelm him. The Great Wall's vigil is impressive, sure, but it constantly exerts pressure and suppresses his own free will, even though the will of the Great Wall has already accepted him. Once the sheer scale of that will reaches an immense level, it still takes a toll on Cheng. The power is great, but if it stays too long, Cheng's own emotions start to go numb. He's gradually turning into someone cold and devoid of human feeling. Meanwhile, because the Great Wall's vigil shares the same origin as the Great Wall itself, the wall is constantly beckoning to Cheng, wanting him to merge with it forever, making him the eternal guardian of the Great Wall. Yeah, the kind where you can't take a single step away, and that is something Cheng absolutely does not want. That is the reason why Cheng let Zhulong go. In the short term, Cheng wasn't certain he could kill Zhulong, but if he dragged it out and activated even a few thousand more kilometers of the wall's will, Cheng himself wouldn't be able to withstand the summoning of the wall or the overwhelming flood of its massive consciousness, taking out one dangerous boundary-level threat just to sacrifice his own freedom. That's a trade Cheng isn't willing to make. Cheng's goal is to protect the Dragon Kingdom, but the Great Wall isn't the only thing that makes up the Dragon Kingdom. After spending about an hour suppressing it, the greenish-white light constantly swirling around Cheng, that restraining glow finally faded from intense to faint. Cheng channeled the excess restraining obsessions and scattered them back into the nearby segments of the Great Wall. Only when he opened his eyes at that moment, deep within his gaze, did a glimmer of living, human emotion return. It was no longer that icy, detached feeling of looking down on everything. moving a little further away from the nearby wall. Cheng felt a lingering sense of fear. If he had held it back even a moment later, his body will be overtaken by the countless spirits of guardians, a collective entity born of sheer willpower and obsession. He won't be himself anymore. Slowly, he ascends into the air. Cheng rises tens of thousands of meters into the sky. His perception field begins to expand, spreading out steadily, though he hasn't managed to reclaim the entire Great Wall in one single stroke. The sections he has already activated, the Great Wall Overwatch, now span nearly 10,000 kilometers. It's enough to save tens, perhaps hundreds of millions of lives, leveraging his innate ability for LV-9 information infiltration. Cheng kicks it into overdrive. As of now, Cheng can extend his digital intrusion and interference across almost the entire northern and central regions of the Dragon Kingdom. Combined with his massively extended perception range, Cheng broadcasts a message to every single detectable and reachable electronic device. To everyone receiving this message, please take note. Sections of the Great Wall have been reclaimed. All mechanical beasts within this perimeter have been completely wiped out. The Great Wall now holds a powerful defensive force and can serve as a permanent sanctuary to keep you all safe. For details on the areas protected by the Great Wall, click to view information on the active sanctuary zones. You may deploy the Great Wall Overwatch and view info regarding our defensive counter-strikes. Everything is accessible now to all surviving citizens of the Dragon Kingdom. You may relocate to the nearest section of the Great Wall to seek refuge. Warning, if you do not possess Dragon Kingdom bloodline, please ignore this message. We cannot guarantee that the will of the Great Wall won't identify you as a hostile invader, potentially causing you irreparable harm. A map of the Great Wall segments nearest to your current location is being loaded. Pay special attention to the red skull icons on the map. Those locations are currently occupied by Lord level or even higher tier mechanical creatures. It's unstoppable because this message is just based on my own personal intel. The maps aren't updated in real time. I can't rule out the possibility that these mutated monsters might wander out of their territories. The risk of moving them is just too high. You absolutely must stay far, far away. Also, if you're in a position to do so, try to hunt for some supernatural resources. Try to awaken and become a supernatural warrior. Reconstruct supernatural warrior data. Expand to view. Expand supernatural ranking system. Identifying supernatural resources. Resources that boost your chances of awakening. How supernatural warriors train. Resources to assist in a supernatural warrior's cultivation. Reconstruct doomsday survival knowledge. Expand to view. I'm begging anyone with the ability to receive this message to please help. Pass it on to each other. Spread the word. Our people need to stay strong. This is the message Cheng sent out to ordinary citizens of the Dragon Kingdom. The message is incredibly long. It's almost as if he sent this exact same thing to everyone capable of receiving it. It's basically a step-by-step, hand-holding guide to survival. At the same time, it tells them about the existence of the Great Wall Sanctuary. Not everyone will be able to, or have the means to relocate. But for those caught in this apocalypse, sometimes all they need is just a tiny glimmer of hope. Plus, with that supernatural data and survival knowledge included, and a map attached as a bonus, even for the survivors who can't make it to the Great Wall, their chances of staying alive and getting stronger will increase significantly. At the very least, it'll be better than the number of survivors in the Dragon Kingdom in Cheng's past life. In that past life, this foundational supernatural data and knowledge cost countless people an infinite amount of time, their lives, and everything they had just to figure it out. Now, Cheng is just handing it all out in advance. If we don't save at least twice as many people, it'd be a total waste. The message Cheng sent out didn't just go to ordinary folks within this range of over 1,000 kilometers. It also reached departments that still have organizational capabilities and military units that are regrouping. They've all received the message too. Commander back at Jiaoju, your phone also got a message just like this. Yeah, not just me. Even our internal military communication network received the exact same email. The Jiaoju base commander's expression was far from pleasant. Their supposedly impenetrable encryption system had been breached just like that, and they couldn't even trace the source. But right now, this wasn't the time to chase down that problem. The base commander turned to his chief of staff and said, "Put the security breach on hold for a moment. Go verify the authenticity of this data immediately. When we were reorganizing the military district, didn't we kill a whole lot of those mutated animals and mutated plants? Looking at the resources mentioned in this document, a lot of them come from these mutated monsters. Go to the barracks and explain the risks. Find a few soldiers willing to volunteer. Let's see if it's true, like he claimed, that these resources can actually boost the awakening rate for superpowered soldiers. Also, take some of these resources and give them to the soldiers who have already awakened. See if it helps them level up their strength." The commander's orders were passed down. Right now, his command center was located in the ruins of Jiaoju City, inside a dilapidated skyscraper. This was his frontline headquarters. Outside, there were countless Jiaoju military soldiers, fighting a bloody battle amidst the endless roar of artillery and gunfire. They had long since left the base and were in the middle of trying to save the city. But with only 10 to 20,000 elite troops spread out across this massive city, It was just a drop in the bucket. They were desperate to increase their strength right now. If this document regarding the superpowered soldiers turns out to be real, it would be a massive turning point. And so, even though this direct experiment felt a bit reckless, these are extraordinary times. The military district commander immediately ordered his men to verify the findings. Chapter 38, The Busy Great Wall. And it wasn't just happening in one place. The greatest strength of the Dragon Kingdom lies in its powerful sense of organization, its resilience, and its ability to recover quickly. There are hundreds, if not thousands of locations. Every one of these places has already returned to an organized state. Anyone with a bit of guts has already started mobilizing people, testing out the methods the Naval Orange revealed. Results came in very quickly. The chief of staff, who had just left moments ago, rushed right back. He didn't even have time to type up a formal report. With a look of pure joy on his face, meeting the Jayaju commander's knowing gaze, the chief of staff opened his mouth to deliver the good news. It's a breakthrough, no doubt about it. Absorbing those supernatural resources and the energy within those things called sprites, it can definitely boost the level of our supernatural soldiers in no time. Good, the Jayaju commander clapped his hands together hard. His eyes were burning with excitement as he said, then take all the sprites we've collected over this period and distribute them to all our supernatural soldiers. Help them boost their strength as fast as possible. Ideally, I want them all to reach elite level or higher. Besides, out in the field, didn't we just kill a Lord-level spirit beast? Take the spirit core we harvested from it and distribute that too. Give it to those soldiers who have already hit the elite level. Give them that extra boost and help them break through to the Lord level as quickly as possible. Hearing the commander's orders, the chief of staff's mouth hung open slightly. He couldn't help but ask, "Sir, shouldn't we hold on to at least a portion of them?" And that Lord-level invitation, which was marked as incredibly precious in those files on the extraordinary. It has so many uses. It could even be used to build a temporary shelter that can house hundreds of people. The chief of staff thinks we should save some of these resources. They could still be used for other things, especially that Lord-level beast core. Using it just like this, I can't help but feel it's a bit of a waste. The commander taps his fingers on the table, waves his hand and says, "Don't be so stingy. If we run out of resources, we'll just go out and take more." According to the intel, the mutated monsters on this planet are already too numerous to count. If we want these resources, we can get them whenever we want. What matters most right now is increasing our soldiers' strength first. As long as our soldiers get stronger, these resources won't be a problem. As for that Lord-level beast core, right now, we desperately need our own Lord-level transcendent warrior. Lord-level monsters are just too powerful. Within our borders, artillery isn't always suitable to use everywhere at every moment. We really need to have our own Lord-level transcendent. Now that we have a way to boost our transcendent warrior's power, we shouldn't hoard the resources only when they're fully put to use. Do they count as resources? Otherwise, they're just junk piling up. If you want to save up resources, then wait until our soldiers have improved enough and we have a surplus. The most urgent priority now is to rapidly increase our strength and then save more survivors. Understood, Commander. The chief of staff salutes and stands at attention. He snapped a sharp, solemn military salute. All right, check this out too. Take a look at what the Jayaju commander just sent in. He motioned for the chief of staff to come closer so he could see the message. Then he said, "You were out, so you missed it. This mystery man is incredible. Not only did he send a message to every single survivor out there, but he even knew about our military presence. He's been feeding us real-time intel, providing us with live counts of these mecha monsters, and a map of their strength distribution. Though he does require us to cooperate with his plans, we need to provide rescue and armed protection for all the survivors heading toward the Great Wall. So what's our move?" The chief of staff leaned in, staring at the images transmitted by the mystery sender. Even the most advanced military satellite surveillance couldn't produce anything better than this. With the sky choked by blood-red clouds, most of our satellite transmission and reconnaissance methods have been crippled. The imagery provided by this mysterious contact is the first one we've managed to get, and it's the most precise intel we've ever seen. With this real-time map, we'll be able to take down way more of those monsters and save so many more survivors. At the same time, we can significantly cut our losses and save the lives of so many of our soldiers. It's extremely valuable. Let's split up our forces. I'll take half the men and continue searching the city for more survivors. With this map, the search and rescue mission is going to be a lot easier than before. Then, we've already rescued quite a number of survivors here. A massive group already. I want you to take the other half of the troops and escort them out. Move them to the Great Wall in waves, and along the way, follow the requirements set by that mystery man. Set up some outposts along the way for protection. Once you reach the Great Wall, stay there, take the soldiers and the survivors, and establish a sanctuary near the Great Wall. After the commander and the chief of staff finalized the upcoming strategy, they rallied all the troops and immediately sprang into action. Their response was incredibly swift, yet they were just the first of many. Cheng stood high in the sky above the Great Wall, within his sensory perception. Ever since the data on superpowered warriors had been made public, Lord-level humans had already begun to emerge in some areas. Superpowered warriors Now that they had the method, human strength began to grow at an astonishing rate, becoming powerful rapidly. The one standing above the Great Wall now wasn't Cheng's true self, but a clone. He also left behind the holographic projections of Skynet and the electronic reconnaissance ship. Keeping them active, they bolstered this clone's abilities in sensory perception and information intrusion. Then he left Kong Chuan behind, along with a holographic projection of the six-winged winged tiger overlord, to serve as high-level combatants to defend the Great Wall. Cheng used this clone to replace himself, taking over the duty of guarding and coordinating with others. Within Cheng's sensory field, it wasn't just the Jiaju unit willing to cooperate. Many other troops and organizations were also on the move. On the map, tiny green dots representing friendly forces were all rapidly shifting toward their designated positions. Cheng's clone, through his sensory field and information intrusion abilities, was remotely commanding and deploying forces over a distance of 1,000 kilometers. Vast numbers of survivors and military units were migrating toward the direction of the Great Wall. Very soon, a massive cluster of green dots had gathered near the Great Wall. The Great Wall suddenly became a hive of activity, and over these past 2 days, the real body of Cheng has already moved beyond the reach of the Great Wall. As for him right now, the further away from the Great Wall, the better. Otherwise, he'd easily fall under the influence of the Wall's will and get lost in it. Right now, Cheng still can't fully handle the entire weight of the Wall's will. Flying through the air, he sweeps over that valley outside Jiayong Pass once again. That massive, ruined stump of the star willow tree is already gone. All that's left is a crater, several dozen yards across and hundreds of meters deep. Inside the pit, there are still plenty of broken roots left behind. These are all top-tier Overlord-level resources. Some incredibly bold, mutated rat monsters are gnawing on them right now. It's clear the half-dead star willow tree had already been snatched away by Zhulong beforehand. This guy keeps getting in my way. I'm definitely going to settle the score with you. Cheng and Zhulong have officially become enemies. But now that he's away from the Great Wall, Cheng still can't take down Zhulong. I need to find a way to boost my strength first. Chapter 39, The Banquet. He stomps hard on the ground, using a random earthquake-inducing talent. He easily crushes those mutated rat monsters to death. Then, using his earth attribute powers, Cheng digs 3 feet deep and pulls out those broken roots. Roots at the peak of the Overlord level. Now these are the good stuff, perfect for medicine or cooking. Near the Great Wall, Cheng's clone, at this very moment, is in a makeshift camp, negotiating with some people. Cheng has brought out quite a few treasures. Treat these people in the room. 600 million worth of soup, made from the tiger penis of a winged tiger. Roasted wings from a relative and friend beast. Spicy braised head of a 7-colored peacock. The tendon-rich essence of a dragon. Anyone who could get Chen to bring out such delicacies to treat them is definitely not someone simple. Over the past few days, the first batch of people have been arriving one after another near the Great Wall and have already started building their shelters. Various military factions are on high alert. There are even some talents and major business tycoons who have relied on their personal capabilities to gather factions and move here. Just counting them up, there are 17 or 18 groups currently seated at the table. The follow-up construction of the Great Wall shelter and the maintenance of order will all require their collective efforts. That is why Chen specifically organized this gathering, wanting to bring them all together. There are about 20 people in this room. Everyone here can be considered to be the current top tier and elite of the Dragon Kingdom. There are even 2 Overlord-level extraordinary warriors present in the room. With a lineup like this, treating them in such an incredibly plain room truly feels a bit too humble. However, none of the people present felt any dissatisfaction. In fact, their eyes were filled with awe. Just look at what is on the table. Even just the aura radiating from it made their scalps feel numb and tight. Being suppressed like this, just by the aura of a few dishes, no one even dared to be the first to pick up their chopsticks. Come on, eat up. Why is everyone just sitting there stunned? Chen's avatar made the first move, picking up a chopstick full of the mountain-moving earth dragon tendon, and shoved the chewy, tendon-filled morsel into his mouth. The chewy and soft texture made him want to swallow his own tongue. It really is delicious. Now have a taste of the tiger penis soup. Now that is what I call authentic. Especially that kick of heat. It just zipped right down to the lower abdomen. If only I could use my extraordinary power to intercept this flow of energy and guide it straight into my dantian. It's a shame the one eating this isn't my main body. This surge of power is basically just a snack for my clone. Cheng glanced at someone at the banquet table. He raised a glass of starlight willow nectar and said with a smile, "The cooks that Chief of Staff Zhu brought along are top-notch. The food is so delicious. To be able to cook ingredients from overlord and sovereign-level beasts until they are this tender, they must really know their stuff. This dish is truly authentic. Overlord-level and sovereign-level ingredients." When those words hit the ears of everyone in the room, quite a few of them had their eyes pop wide open. These are sovereign-level ingredients, and Overlord level ones too. Oh my god, I've never even seen what an Overlord level creature looks like. The room, which had been a bit chilly and had a rather quiet, tense atmosphere, instantly erupted into a buzz of excitement. No one could remain indifferent to a meal like this, especially when such high-level resources were being served on a dinner table in this way. Do you know what that implies? It means they've hunted down a massive amount of Overlord and Sovereign-level mutated creatures. The higher-ups in the room were exchanging frequent glances. They had assumed Cheng was strong, but they never imagined he was on this level. Those two factions that had brought along their sovereign-level extraordinary warriors, who were feeling quite smug just a moment ago, thinking that their own ability to cultivate, within such a short period of time, a sovereign-level extraordinary warrior was already an incredibly impressive feat. Only now do they realize there's always someone stronger out there. There's always a mountain higher than the last. Many people are looking at Cheng now with a much more cautious gaze. Cheng, however, just chuckles. He takes the initiative to pile food onto the plates of those sitting nearby. His smile hasn't faded a bit, especially for those two Lord-level transcendent warriors. He serves them extra portions of meat, saying, "Eat up. You all are the elite of the Dragon Nation. Only with greater strength can you protect more people." Cheng is still beaming, serving this whole table of food to them. He's doing this on purpose. Among everyone present, there are those he truly respects. Every faction here, whether they are military-backed or independent groups that rose up during these chaotic times, has rescued and taken in countless survivors, preserving a massive amount of life for the Dragon Nation. But because he holds such high power, and Cheng acts as a lone wolf, it's inevitable that some people might underestimate him. Some self-proclaimed clever schemers might even be thinking of targeting him. Properly establishing his authority is the fastest way to earn real respect. Only when people feel a sense of fear can the real discussions begin. With Cheng personally serving them, these big shots at the table finally feel brave enough to pick up their chopsticks and start eating. It can't be helped, compared to their fear of the strange food. Having a super powerful entity like Cheng, who can hunt down Lord-level and Overlord-level beasts, serving them food, is what's truly terrifying. Well, after experiencing these few days of global cataclysm, everyone's mindset is shifting at breakneck speed. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Only the strong command respect, especially those who have managed to survive. The big shots standing here right now, they are sharp people to begin with. They understand this point even more deeply. Nobody is going to be so clueless as to keep waiting for Cheng to spoon-feed them. Of course, later on, Cheng didn't even need to lift a finger. They were already fighting over it themselves. This top-tier feast, it was so delicious, it was almost worth biting your own tongue off. But the most important thing was the way this extraordinary resource started boosting their power from the moment they picked up their chopsticks. At every second, someone had to stop eating and focus entirely on breaking through to the next level. Even those two Lord-level extraordinary warriors, each leveled up by a small stage. The flesh of an Overlord-level beast, even without the core demon orb, the sheer quantity and quality of the energy contained within was far superior to their own. Using Overlord-level ingredients to level up was just the natural order of things. A matter of course. Even the few people present who hadn't awakened any extraordinary talents yet, who hadn't become extraordinary warriors, after cautiously eating a bite or two of the food, were all pleasantly surprised to awaken their powers. Even Lord-level Beast Gold can give ordinary people a 50 to 60% success rate. Overlord-level resources boost that chance even further. There wasn't a single unlucky soul here who could fail to awaken when faced with an 80 or 90% success rate. Without exception, everyone awakened successfully. This banquet lasted a long time, dragging on from morning all the way into the night, before the dishes were finally finished off. But even so, more than half of it still ended up in Cheng's stomach. The energy within this food was simply too immense, the quality too high. Everyone else was stuffed after just a few bites. Most of the others were full after just a few bites. Apart from those two Lord-level transcendent warriors, none of them could really absorb that much, especially when it came to the soup. The guys who had just a few sips of that tiger whip soup were all hunched over now, sitting in their seats with their faces flushed bright red. Finally, someone couldn't take it anymore. They took the initiative and asked Cheng, "You invited us here to a feast. What exactly is it you want to discuss?" Seeing that the atmosphere was just right, Cheng stopped playing games. He laid out his goal. "My objective is simple. I want to consolidate our forces. Look at you all, just setting up a dozen sanctuaries blindly. Around here like this, that's just not going to work. We're failing to tap into our collective strength, and it's holding us back from restoring any real order." Chapter 40, Consolidating Power. As soon as he said that, everyone at the table perked up, but the room suddenly fell into an awkward silence. All eyes were fixed on Cheng. There was hesitation, deep thought, and silence. They were all weighing one thing. What does he actually mean by that? Is he planning to merge all the factions here and make himself the absolute leader? That's a hell of an ambition. Many were already starting to weigh the pros and cons and second-guess Cheng's true motives and legitimacy. And while some didn't say a word, deep down they were dead set against it. Even though the global catastrophe shattered the old order, it also brought them a golden opportunity. Many of them, as leaders of these newly risen powers, were enjoying the taste of playing local warlord, something they never could have dreamed of in the old world, something they never dreamed they'd have to give up. And now, someone wants to force them all to merge. Not only are they getting a new boss breathing down their necks, but they are also going to have to fall back in line. No more playing little emperor and doing whatever the hell they want. You can bet they aren't happy about it. That's how the independent warlords are feeling. But for the military, the police, and the other big dogs, they're actually having second thoughts. The idea of restoring order. That's exactly what they need right now. They're desperate for a unified command. But here's the catch. If everyone merges together, considering the military, police, and the big factions are all roughly on the same level, who exactly gets to be in charge? We can't seriously let Kitchen be the big boss, can we? But since Kitchen was the one who brought it up, what does that make him? What's his angle? Everyone's thinking the same thing. Kitchen wants the throne for himself. And deep down, nobody is okay with that. But it's awkward, and honestly, nobody dares to call him out to his face. After all, Kitchen's individual strength is just on another level. If he really wanted to build his own faction, he wouldn't need any of them. He could just round up the survivors on his own. People always gravitate toward the strong. None of these people here are actually indispensable to him. Sensing the tension in the room thickening, Kitchen chuckled. He said with a hint of annoyance, "I know what you're thinking. I have zero interest in being the leader of any of your pathetic little factions. It's just looking at all of you, running around building your own little sanctuaries, building so many, so frantically. Plus, all the even smaller, lower-tier shelters, and teams popping up everywhere. There are nearly 100 of these little groups now, with all these different factions and cliques fighting. It's just become too hard to watch. It's a complete mess, even though the catastrophe has only just begun, and there are countless external enemies and monsters out there. We must unite everyone together. We need to consolidate our resources and our talent. Only then can we unleash our true potential. By establishing stable rules and order, only then can society recover and begin to rebuild. Only then will more powerhouses emerge, and more survivors be saved. But mere rescue and protection are not enough. The damage caused by chaos is absolutely no less than the damage caused by the disaster itself. Hearing Cheng say this, the tension in the room eased up a little. But if Cheng doesn't take that seat, whoever among these factions steps up to the position, none of the others would ever accept it. No one dared to speak up and claim that seat for themselves. It would instantly become a target of resentment. In the end, it was the one who helped out, the one who prepared this fine meal, Chief of Staff Zhu. Zhu Bin spoke up and asked, "Then what exactly do you mean?" "Since I've raised this problem, I naturally have a way to solve it." Cheng smiled mysteriously, then pointed his hand toward the door, without anyone noticing when. An old man had slowly walked inside, when everyone followed the direction of Cheng's finger. The whole room was struck with absolute shock. In a flash, they all jumped to their feet, especially the representatives from the military, the police force, and the Tiger Fang team. They were even more overwhelmed with emotion. A massive group of tough men looked like they were on the verge of tears. In that instant, the air was filled with all sorts of shouts and cries. Cheng looked at the old man before him. He, too, stood up just like the others, showing the same deep respect for him. None of them had ever expected that Cheng would actually be the one to bring him here. The old man had an air of quiet authority. He looked sharp, yet his demeanor was incredibly warm and gentle, just like a kind, old grandfather from next door. He nodded to everyone, acknowledging them one by one. But when his gaze landed on Cheng, he couldn't help but linger, looking at him with genuine admiration. The moment he appeared, everyone from the Junjing camp, along with the representatives from Huya, suddenly had absolutely no more objections. The old man who arrived was none other than the former leader of the Dragon Kingdom before the apocalypse, the Prime Minister of the Dragon Kingdom. Everyone stared at him with burning intensity, then shifted their gaze to Kitchen. There was truly no one else more qualified to take on the role of rebuilding order. In the wake of the apocalypse, Zhu Bing cast a look of deep gratitude toward Kitchen, then gave him a solemn, respectful salute. With a grave tone, he declared, "As Chief of Staff of the Jiaozhu Legion, on behalf of every soldier in the Jiaozhu Military District, I want to express our thanks for your contribution. I speak for the entire Jiaozhu Legion when I say we agree to this proposal, and we are willing to continue under your command." Following Zhu Bing's lead, the others stood up one after another to salute, and immediately pledged their allegiance. The Qincheng SWAT team reports for duty. The Northern Legion's 102nd Division reports for duty. The Yunju Government Administration accepts your leadership once again. In what felt like a heartbeat, all official organizations had completely changed their stance. At this point, the agenda for Kitchen's banquet was already halfway to being fully approved. Then the eyes of both Kitchen and the old man turned toward the remaining independent factions. What would they choose to do? The representatives from the military, the police, and Huya all fixed their gaze on the other faction leaders, piling the pressure onto them. Facing that kind of intensity, an ordinary person simply couldn't hold out. I agree too. I am also willing to accept your leadership." The smart ones chose to submit immediately. The true power of the Dragon Kingdom was rapidly coalescing into one, With the extra push from Cheng, facing such overwhelming power, they really had no room left to say no. And once someone took the lead, everyone else had no choice but to go with the flow. One after another, they voiced their agreement. Even those who were reluctant deep down couldn't show it at a time like this. They were forced to move along with the tide, brought together under one command. And just like that, in the wake of the disaster in the Dragon Kingdom, the first unified force, representing the true authority, had finally emerged. Compared to the rise of many competing factions in his past life, the speed at which they achieved this unification was countless times faster. Cheng watched this scene with satisfaction. With things moving like this, the Dragon Kingdom can avoid so much unnecessary internal friction. Right now, there aren't many unofficial personal factions rising up yet, even if some have thoughts of carving out their own territory to play king. It hasn't reached that extreme point it will in the future. Starting with this organization, slowly, everything in this Dragon Kingdom will be connected and brought under one banner. Soon, order across the whole country will be restored, leading the Dragon Kingdom back to life with renewed vigor. For Cheng, this is also a deeply fulfilling achievement. Of course, this isn't without its benefits for him either. Chapter 41. Cheng's demands the Dragon Chasers' schemes fall through. Cheng helping the Dragon Kingdom consolidate these factions and re-establishing order, whether for the greater good or himself. When it comes to the big picture, even from the very beginning, he has never been one to hesitate when it comes to saving more survivors in the Dragon Kingdom and restoring order quickly. Likewise, for things that are beneficial to himself, he won't feel awkward about making his own requests either. As it happens, right now near the Great Wall, the leaders of all the major factions are gathered in this very room. Cheng decides to seize this opportunity. Just say what you need. Besides that, I still need everyone's help with two more things. As soon as Cheng finished speaking, the room felt a bit stifling. The atmosphere suddenly shifted into a state of intense tension. Everyone looked at one another, back and forth, until finally, all eyes were locked on Cheng. Even with the old Chancellor present, they still didn't dare ignore Cheng's words. In this world, the strong rightfully hold the most sway, but they couldn't help feeling a bit uneasy. What exactly was Cheng going to ask for? It was mostly because of Cheng's previous attitude. It had been almost too good to be true. He had brought them all together, treated them to top-tier, extraordinary ingredients, and then even helped them get the old Chancellor back in power. Generally speaking, the more someone gives, the bigger the favor or return they expect. They were genuinely worried that Cheng would make some impossible demands. Seeing the looks on their faces, Cheng was left speechless. Did he really have that much of an intimidating presence? Just one word from him was enough to freeze the whole room. Cheng said with a wry tone, "Why are you all so nervous? It's just something that would be incredibly tedious and troublesome for me to do alone. It's just that the workload is massive, so I need to borrow your hands to help out. The task itself isn't difficult at all." Hearing this, the others finally let out a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't anything too crazy, it was fine. "Then may we ask what exactly you need us to do?" Among those present, Zhu Bin had the most guts. After glancing at the old Chancellor, he took the lead and asked on behalf of everyone, "It's very simple. Help me collect some blood. I need blood from all of you extraordinary warriors. It doesn't have to be much. A drop or two from each person will be more than enough. No need to bother separating them. Just mix it all together and bring it to me. I need them to level up my power, and fast." Cheng spoke up, his voice steady. With so many factions present now, and all the survivors they've managed to rescue, gathered together in one place, the number of superhuman warriors is well into the tens of thousands. If he doesn't feast on these Heavenly Father-level ability strips now, it would be a total waste of the opportunity. Besides, the flood of survivors heading toward the Great Wall just keeps growing ever since Cheng revealed the secret to boosting the awakening rate of superhuman warriors. Every single minute, there are more new superhumans popping up. In the end, the army of superhumans, converging inside and outside the Great Wall, is going to hit a staggering, astronomical number. If he could devour the blood of all those superhuman warriors, he'd instantly gain a massive amount and a huge variety of new talent strips. And more importantly, these strips would constantly stack and merge as he consumed them. Cheng figured that, in no time at all, around the Great Wall area alone, they could easily have over 1 million superhuman warriors. Over 1 million people. That could mean millions of superhuman ability strips, even if many merged or canceled each other out due to their origins, leaving behind a smaller pool. He might end up with 1,000 or 2,000, or maybe even just a few hundred supreme, fused-together talents. But at the end of the day, every single one of those fused talent strips would be incredibly powerful. There'd definitely be plenty of them reaching level 10 or higher. By then, those strips would be. Everything can be transformed into a new domain. The dozen or so domains I already possess might all get an upgrade because of this. When that time comes, even though his transcendent realm won't change, his power will see a massive boost. Before the bamboo dragon left the Great Wall, he took away the vast majority of the Overlord tier and Lord tier demonic beasts. The whole point was to restrict and stall Cheng's growth. This way they avoid being devoured by Cheng and can huddle together for protection. The epic clash between Cheng and the bamboo dragon could be felt by every living creature, both inside and outside the Great Wall. In the sky, the death projections of the six-winged, winged tiger and Kong Chuan appeared one after another. Two Overlord-tier deaths back to back, seeing those Overlord projections rising into the sky. Two Overlords dead just like that. When the bamboo dragon went to find them, he was dragging the frozen star willow and the heavily wounded black shed with him. Even the king-tier bamboo dragon wasn't in great shape. Anyone who saw that scene would be terrified. They were all consumed by fear and dread of Cheng, except for a tiny, greedy few who thought that with the other beasts gone and the Great Wall left wide open, they could take over and absorb even more national destiny. They refused to leave. They figured they could keep absorbing the Great Wall's energy for a while longer, and that once Cheng was about to reach their doorstep, there would still be plenty of time to run, dealing with these fools whose brains weren't working right. The bamboo dragon ruthlessly struck them down right in front of the others. In these past few days, Cheng didn't even have to lift a finger. Within a 100-mile radius, two more Overlord-tier death projections appeared. That bamboo dragon is truly vicious and absolutely ruthless, since these idiots insist on staying at the Great Wall and are hell-bent on throwing their lives away to fuel the enemy. Might as well just drop dead. The demon cores and flesh left behind can still be used to restore some of his strength. The bamboo dragon slaughtered these two overlords and their demon kin, and it really sent a shockwave through the rest of the demon horde. In an instant, both inside and outside the Great Wall, even in the sections that weren't activated by Kitchen's Great Wall Watch resolve, the high-level demon powerhouses had all cleared out. The bamboo dragon didn't want Kitchen to stay on the wall, relying on the protection of the Great Wall to keep on slaughtering the other demons. He didn't want Kitchen devouring any more top-tier demons. He even started gathering up the demons from other parts of the Dragon Nation, all just to stunt Kitchen's growth. But what the bamboo dragon didn't know was this. When it comes to talent magnetic strips, not only can Kitchen absorb them, but he can also treat them like naturally awakened talents. He can cultivate and level them up, even without high-level demons to kill. By consuming the blood of other superhuman warriors, he can still cultivate and fuse a massive amount of level 10 or higher talent magnetic strips, and then transform them into domains. Besides the speed of collecting them like this, all it takes is sending people out with a loudspeaker to make an announcement around the shelters, and then having someone go around to collect them. The efficiency of boosting Kitchen's power this way is honestly no slower than hunting down mutant monsters one by one and absorbing just 2 or 3 domains at a time. The bamboo dragon's schemes against Kitchen were doomed from the very start. Hearing Kitchen's request, it really wasn't that hard. It was just a matter of passing a word down the line. This wouldn't take long to get done at all. A sense of relief washed over many of them, and smiles appeared on their faces. It wasn't exactly a difficult demand after all, though there were still a few agitators playing their own political games. Deep down, a sense of unease started to creep in. Cheng said he needed the blood of these superhuman warriors. It was all to level up his strength and fast. Now, they're looking to be treated as equals by Cheng. It's always Cheng who has to lower their stance first. If Cheng's power keeps growing, won't it become even more impossible to keep them in check? Chapter 42, Devouring the Vast Resources of the Star Willow Roots. All right, that's not a difficult problem to solve. We will send people to help you gather that supernatural blood. Your increase in strength is a good thing. Those high-level calamity monsters still rely on you to take them down. While some were still hesitating, the Prime Minister spoke up first to show his support. In that moment, those who hadn't yet made up their minds suddenly realized that right now, they were no longer existing as independent factions. The power to make final decisions and set the main course had already shifted from them to the Prime Minister. Since the Prime Minister, acting as the supreme leader of the unified front, had made a promise to Cheng, that settled it. They had lost their chance to keep wavering or pushing back. At this point, they couldn't afford to disrespect the Prime Minister's authority. The Prime Minister gave a subtle nod to Cheng. The emergence of massive numbers of supernatural powerhouses and factions worldwide had, in truth, dealt a major blow to his status as well. Cheng made the request, and in the end, the Prime Minister stepped in to give his approval. It was something the two of them had already agreed upon. This approach had an added benefit. It helped everyone else quickly realize the reality of the current situation and helped the Prime Minister re-establish his authority. Of course, rebuilding that influence wouldn't just be decided by a single call on one issue. If he wanted to pull the power from everyone else's hands into his own, he had to offer something worth their while in return. If he wanted to seize even greater power, he had to be able to offer more benefits to others. Because having power always comes with a price. It means you have to provide for your people, for the faction you lead, and you have to create real, lasting value for the Dragon Kingdom. As for this part of the bargain, Cheng handled it for the old Chancellor. Since he was already going the extra mile, helping the old Chancellor was just the start. He was determined to put him right back on top. The old Chancellor looked at Cheng and asked, "We'll agree to this, but we also want something in return from you." Oh, Cheng put on a look of feigned interest. The old Chancellor gestured toward the empty plates piled on the table and said, "We need more high-quality superhuman resources." This was the bargaining chip they had agreed upon long ago. Sure, Cheng replied easily. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashed his spatial powers, a talent ability similar to a pocket dimension manifested before them. A ripple of transparent, water-like light appeared right beside Cheng. From the outside, you could clearly see everything stored inside that hidden space. Massive piles of demon corpses were stacked up inside, mountain after mountain of them. Throughout his journey, Cheng had slaughtered countless demons, especially during that final, desperate moment when he activated the will of the Great Wall. He had swept across 10,000 kilometers of the frontier, taking out dozens of Spirit Lord-level demons. Plus, there were the 600 million winged tigers and Kong Chuan that he'd killed, along with the Black Canopies Peng Kai Overlord, and those peak star-level entities, the roots of the willow tree, and the bamboo dragon's crown and dragon horns, all top-tier demon flesh and blood. Cheng has honestly got way too many of these navel oranges. They're piled up in the storage space like literal mountains of flesh. As soon as the storage space Cheng opened up was revealed, everyone in the room just stared, completely stunned. 3 or 4 seconds passed, and everyone couldn't help but gasp in shock. This is all high-level monster flesh. Just how much is here? It's gotta be hundreds of thousands of tons, right? You have to keep in mind, monsters are usually massive once they undergo mechanical transformation. For someone with rare talent like Zhu Kun, they can grow to over 100,000 tons, even at the Lord rank. Of course, Zhu Kun is an exception, but for an average Lord rank monster, reaching hundreds of tons, or even thousands or tens of thousands of tons, really isn't difficult. The amount of flesh inside Cheng's storage space adds up to over 1 million tons, and that's not even counting the dismantled monster cores. Everyone's breathing grew ragged. For many of them, their breath turned greedy in that split second, but then that greed vanished just as quickly. Because when facing Cheng, they had no right to be greedy. They didn't even need to imagine how powerful Cheng was. Just the sight of nearly 100 Lord-rank monster corpses piled up right there was enough to fill them with terror. Still, that didn't stop their breathing from burning with desire. Even the old Prime Minister found his throat going dry. In a raspy voice, he asked, "Are all of these really meant for us?" The shock in the old Prime Minister's eyes was no less than anyone else's, even though he and Cheng had already planned out the script. What Cheng pulled out all at once still caught him off guard, making him break character. But Cheng didn't care. He casually opened up another portal within that storage space, then granted access permissions for this portal to a select few. He then molded that access into a silver seal and pressed it into the old Prime Minister's hand before standing up and saying, "I've unlocked a portion of the access permissions. Within this mark, from now on, every time I receive some transcendent blood, I will unlock a bit more of the resource permissions. It's an exchange. We benefit each other. Distributing these lords and resources is exactly what Cheng wants to do anyway. Cheng isn't just throwing money away like a fool. It's a very simple logic. Once these resources are handed out, it'll be easy to awaken even more transcendent warriors. And there will be even more transcendent warriors, leveling up their innate talents. By then, when Cheng devours the talent genes from their blood, he'll be able to reap even greater benefits. But if these resources were just given away for free like charity, people probably wouldn't cherish them. They might even think he's a total sucker. Or worse, it might just fuel some people's bottomless greed. That's why Cheng intentionally added a step of exchanging benefits in between. Things that aren't free are the only things people actually value. Plus, by putting the mark that stores the resources into the old Prime Minister's hands, it's the same as handing the distribution of those resources entirely over to him. With all those tempting resources firmly in his grip, everyone else will naturally have to be respectful and obedient. Sometimes, seizing authority is just that simple, plain and effective, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Cheng's avatar basically protected the joint forces built by the old Prime Minister and Xing, helping them get on the right track. As the banquet came to an end, Cheng was the first to leave, leaving the space to the people in the room, so they could continue to discuss other matters. The rebuilding of order. It's definitely not that simple. It took quite a bit of effort to get things back on track, both inside and outside the Great Wall. And as for Cheng himself, he certainly didn't neglect his own growth. In fact, while his clone was finishing up that feast, Cheng's own power had already leveled up. After devouring the roots and branches of the Star Willow, he successfully unlocked new domains: Star Domain Level 2, Life Domain Level 2, Giant Age Domain Level 1, Forest Domain Level 1, Nature Domain Level 1, Parasitic Domain Level 1, Overdraft Domain Level 1, and Star God Bloodline Domain Level 1. He also gained NEW Chinese letter traits, Nourishment Level 7, Solidified Skin Level 8, Plant Affinity Level 9, Life Harmony Level 8, Star Style Level 6. By devouring the wings of the Black Rock, he unlocked another new domain, Extreme Speed Domain Level 2. Chapter 43, Domain Purification. Devouring the Black Rock's wings also granted him Extreme Speed Domain Level 2, Shedding Knowledge Domain Level 1, True Shedding, and Black Shedding Domain Level 1. He also gained NEW Chinese letter traits, Soaring Level 8, Abundant Rui Level 8, Auspicious Wood level 9 and Firmness level 6. The bamboo dragon actually thought it could restrain Cheng, trying to limit the speed at which he gains domains by devouring others. But little did it know, Cheng had only devoured the roots of the star willow and the wings of the black rock, and he had already easily increased his own number of domains. By a full 11 types, his domain capabilities have improved by more than 50%. Before this, Cheng had never consumed the flesh and blood of living creatures. To strengthen himself, he had never, in the heat of battle, directly devoured an enemy he was fighting. His goal was to keep a hidden ace up his sleeve, to make others misjudge his true strength. Besides, Cheng simply never needed to do that. He was always confident he could take down anyone he fought, and then devour them afterward. To collect his spoils of war, there was no need to seek a temporary power boost. So time and again, Cheng had successfully played the bamboo dragon for a fool. But in reality, that's not the case at all. A total of 30 different domains are surrounding Cheng. Yet things started to change again very quickly. The domains themselves began to merge. First, it was the level 5 Pang Blood domain and the level 1 True Canopy domain. These two domains, the two of them, both currently have 2 layers within Cheng, and they've started to devour and fuse with each other. The bloodline power of the Pang Blood domain all originates from the great Pang Bird bloodline. Essentially, there isn't much difference between them. That's why the Pang Blood domains fused so rapidly. Cheng could feel the blood flowing through his body, constantly boiling over. Originally, because he had obtained the dual-layered Pang Blood domain. The Pang bloodline within Cheng took up such a massive share that it effectively doubled. It was surging through Cheng's veins, occupying even more space than before. But as these two domains began to merge, Cheng's dual bloodlines actually started to shrink. They began to distill down into something more refined. These refined blood droplets were fewer in number, but much higher in quality. Within every single drop of this refined blood, you could faintly see a great Pang bird soaring through the liquid. The volume of his bloodline was returning to normal, but the quality was shifting to a much higher level. In the end, the Pang bloodline returned to its original volume. At the same time, the golden droplets within the entire bloodline had completely fused with the rest of it. Now the entire bloodline flowed with a faint golden sheen. It was clear that becoming a brilliant, solid gold was not far off. Cheng estimated that at level 3, the Pang bloodline would likely restore the true Great Pang bloodline. Even so, the level 2 Pang bloodline had already given his body speed and strength a massive boost. Cheng felt that, just this one, the power boost from a Tier 2 Pang bloodline, is already enough to outweigh everything else he has. The dragon bloodline, the 5-limbed bloodline, and the peacock bloodline, all of them combined. The power gaps between these beast bloodlines are just absurd. A single increase in purity is enough to make it stronger than a lower-tier bloodline by a distance of over 100,000 miles. A Tier 2 Pang bloodline can take the other 3 combined and absolutely crush them. The Pang Snow domain integrates with the True Pang domain, which is all about consumption. The Pang Snow domain shares the same origin, but the True Pang domain differs significantly when it comes to the True Pang core itself. Is it dominated by the Black Pang, or is it dominated by the Azure Pang? Because of this, their merger isn't a smooth integration based on common origin. It's 2 different domains, frantically tearing into each other. Countless Black Pangs and Azure Pangs, both large and small, are tearing through Cheng's very flesh, using his body as their battlefield. They are locked in a savage struggle, devouring one another. All these Black Pangs and Azure Pangs are actually manifestations of domain power. As soon as a Black Pang devours an Azure Pang, the Black Pang domain grows stronger, and it immediately spawns a new Black Pang to join the fray, and the same goes for the other side. Cheng can feel a dull, throbbing pain throughout his body. The conflict between these 2 domains is incredibly intense, especially since this clash is tearing apart his own flesh and blood. The sheer violence of it would shred the body of an ordinary transcendent being. It would be torn to pieces. At the very least, this applies to the Azure Pangs or the Black Pangs themselves. There's no way they could ever survive this kind of devouring and fusion. But with the other 20+ domains suppressing them from all sides, his body was held firmly in place and protected. Now, Cheng didn't have to worry about that anymore. At that moment, his 2 speed domains at level 2 began to merge. The fusion process was actually much simpler than any of his bloodline domains. There wasn't really much change to speak of. It was just the 2 speed domains, one stacked on top of the other, moving together with almost 0 resistance. They simply overlapped, and then the thickness and range of the pale white speed domain basically doubled in size. The speed boost from the domain had doubled as well. They became each other's experience, perfectly complementing one another. It was incredibly easy to fuse them into a level 3 speed domain, because of the unique nature of the Great Wall Watch at level 15. After many attempts, Cheng finally confirmed that it couldn't be converted into a domain. This level 3 speed domain was actually Cheng's very first level 3 domain. It was currently his most powerful one yet. Meanwhile, the 2 true Pang domains within Cheng's body had also finished devouring each other. It came as no surprise to Cheng. In the end, the Black Pang domain was the winner. Compared to the Black Pang, the Green Pang had too many inherent weaknesses. The Green Pang's original form was only at the Overlord level, and its bloodline back then had only managed to evolve. By relying on the national destiny, channeled through Cheng's great power artifact at level 10. Only then did it succeed, climbing multiple ranks to finally form the true Peng bloodline. But the Black Peng was a born sovereign-level creature, with a bloodline that was naturally at the true Peng level. Just that alone made it far superior to the Green Peng. And that wasn't even the half of it. Cheng's great power artifact, the magnetic strip, that is the current domain of fortune. It plays no favorites. After devouring the bloodline of the Black Peng, the domain of fortune also absorbed the Black Peng's true Peng domain. The Qin Peng Azure Peng was no match for it at all. It took almost no time at all. The Black Peng domain, crushing and devouring the Qin Peng domain with overwhelming force. At this moment, the true Peng domain has evolved into the true Peng. Black Peng domain level 2. The Azure Peng wrapped around Cheng has vanished without a trace. In fact, Cheng can't even summon the shadow of the Azure Peng anymore. The Azure Peng was completely swallowed up by the Black Peng. But replacing it is the Black Peng now coiled around Cheng. And the appearance of the Black Peng has changed drastically. Its feathers are no longer just pure black. Before, there was only a tiny bit of gold on the wingtips. Now the Black Peng, 1/3 of its feathers have turned gold. The golden feathers on its red wings cover more than half of them on the wingtips that were originally gold, including the bird's crest and the plume on its head. They have turned into a deeper, dark gold. This color change isn't just a simple shift. It represents a surge in bloodline power and strength. The Black Peng can now carry its own 3 heavy domains: the domain of extreme speed, the domain of Pengology, and the true Peng domain. Right now, Cheng has infused these 3 newly evolved domains directly onto its body. The Black Peng, originally only at the late stage of the hegemon level, is now faintly radiating the aura of a king rank. Chapter 44, The Early Birth of Immortal Essence. Of course, it can't truly reach the king rank yet. That would still require the transition from a domain to a golden core. However, after being empowered by Cheng with these several domains, whether it's the level 3 domain of extreme speed or the 3 level 2 domains it now possesses, they've all met the requirements to evolve into the monarch tier. Even just a tiny bit, he's already got 1 foot into the monarch tier realm. With Hai Peng, he can finally give off that slight aura of a monarch tier. A half-step monarch tier like this is even stronger than the Star Willow. The Star Willow, it's just falling short on every single requirement for breaking through to the monarch tier. But Hai Peng, he's already got 2 of those conditions checked off. With Cheng's push, the phantom of Hai Peng easily reached its current level, and the real Hai Peng is still alive. Cheng chuckled. He couldn't help but wonder, the next time he runs into that real Hai Peng, and he lets out this half-step monarch tier, this pure-blooded void elephant, what kind of look will be on the real Hai Peng's face? It's like the 6-eared macaque trying to pass for the great sage, or a fake Lai Kui posing as the real deal. Cheng thinks the scene will definitely be hilarious. Of course, this void elephant Hai Peng is really only good for crushing noobs below the monarch tier. That's the only time Cheng would send him out. When dealing with a truly troublesome enemy, Cheng would still pull back all those domains and recall everything. He'd have to take care of it himself. Hai Peng's 3 domains provide such a massive boost to Cheng. Honestly, it even surpasses the Star Willow. The boost Cheng got from the 8-fold domains, having 1 level 3 domain assigned to him, and 2 level 2 domains on Hai Peng. Compared to a true monarch tier, the only things missing are the immortal essence of the indestructible golden core, and that property of being immune to all magic. But once Cheng started trying to fuse them together, all 27 layers of the domain remaining, 27 layers in total, level 1, 2, and 3 domains, all densely packed and stacked together, Cheng tried to force them to collide and compress them, attempting to see if he could forge a golden core. The result, of course, was failure. Cheng's actual cultivation base is only at the early stage of the Overlord rank. He's still quite a distance away from the mid-stage of the Overlord rank. It's completely impossible for him to condense a golden core ahead of schedule. To evolve from the Overlord rank to the King rank, one must first reach the peak of the Overlord rank. Only then will the quantity and intensity of the energy within the body be sufficient to encapsulate the domains and compress them into a core. Cheng's cultivation is still far from that point. But in the end, quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Although these domains can't form a golden core right now, their quality and quantity are more than enough. They even far exceed the standard requirements. Cheng, in the process of colliding and compressing those 27 domains, he still exerted immense pressure on them, so much so that they themselves generated a powerful internal pressure. The collisions birthed a new kind of power. Faintly, it even started to exhibit new properties. An immortal essence, impervious to all techniques. That's it, in essence. A golden core is just a domain and a sublimated version of other powers after being compressed, even though he hasn't reached the golden core stage yet. On Cheng's body, this kind of power has truly manifested. Quantitative change leading to qualitative change. Cheng guided a thread of that immortal essence, winding it around his fingertips, silently sensing it. In its nature, this wisp of essence and the essence of the dragon's golden core seemed to be no different at all, although he couldn't break through to the golden core stage directly. However, I actually managed to gain the power to create immortal essence ahead of schedule, and the ability to render all laws ineffective. Even Cheng himself was caught off guard, compared to the immortal essence, created by the collision of domains, like the one in Zhilong's golden core. My method has a glaring weakness. I can't store it. I have to produce it on the fly as I use it. In Zhilong's indestructible golden core, the immortal essence is generated endlessly, and it can be stockpiled in massive amounts. But for Cheng to tap into that power, he has to force his domains to collide repeatedly, just to trigger that nullification of all laws effect. It only happens when the domains actively collapse inward. It's impossible to maintain for long. It's just so intermittent. Sure, this crude way of doing things has its fair share of flaws, but compared to those top-tier overlords, these issues are nothing. In terms of the very essence of power, I've reached a higher level. Now, if Zhilong shows up again, Cheng could take him on, now that he possesses that same immortal essence. Between Cheng and Zhilong, there's no longer a massive gap in their fundamental strength. From here on out, it's all about raw potential and deep foundations. And when it comes to having a deep foundation, with his countless innate traits and multiple powerful bloodlines, Cheng has never been afraid of anyone. After settling his nerves, Cheng pulled out one more thing, that dragon horn he'd managed to sever from Zhilong. Zhilong might have snatched his tail back, but Cheng had gotten to this horn first, and made off with it. Zhilong, the undisputed #1 among the 13 demon kings, within and beyond the Great Wall. If I devour this horn, who knows how many, or how powerful the innate gifts I'll gain will be. Especially since Zhilong has already broken through to the king tier. The bare minimum would be 9 billion level domains, or perhaps 3 secondary tier domains, or perhaps they possess a multitude of powerful tier 3 domains. It's even possible they have a combination of them. Devouring the bamboo dragon. It's guaranteed to be incredibly powerful. Cheng holds the dragon horn in his hand. He chooses to activate his super devour ability. However, the devouring attempt fails. Cheng is slightly surprised. His super devour talent has always been infallible, yet this time it actually didn't succeed. But soon, Cheng figures out the reason. The reason lies within the king-level golden core path, essence becoming immortal, all laws returning to one. On the bamboo dragon's horn, although it contains much of the dragon's essence energy and vital flesh and blood, it no longer holds any innate talents. In other words, the concept of law is missing. All those concepts of law are now entirely concentrated within the bamboo dragon's immortal golden core. Naturally, Cheng cannot devour them. It seems that in the future, when dealing with transcendental beings at the king level or above, if I want to devour their innate abilities, I will have to kill them first, and then devour their golden cores. The swirling vortex of devouring in his hand comes to a halt, since there is no way to devour the bamboo dragon's innate domains and its innate traits. Cheng decides not to waste this horn any longer, even if he didn't manage to devour any talent from it. It doesn't really matter. Cheng can still use this horn for other purposes. This bamboo dragon horn is a top-tier material for refining energy. It's a king-level material, harvested from the hardest part of the bamboo dragon, the part that contains the most essence. On a dragon, apart from the golden core, the 4 most precious items are the dragon horns, the 5th dragon claw, the dragon pearl, and the reverse scale, the most precious and powerful of all. It's also the top-tier material for forging magical treasures. Now, about these magical treasures, they are divided into standard treasures and soul-bound treasures. Both standard treasures and soul-bound ones can be used by anyone, but only a soul-bound treasure is perfectly synced with the master who forged it. Plus, it can be nurtured by its master, growing and evolving over time. It stays that way until the master severs the connection, hands it over to someone else, or the master passes away. And only those at the rank of king or higher can even forge one, using their undying golden core. Given the growth potential and the strict forging conditions, compared to standard weapons, the requirements are incredibly harsh. But the raw power a soul-bound treasure unleashes once complete is in a league of its own compared to any other weapon of the same rank. Cheng planned to use this dragon horn as the primary material to forge a combat blade for himself. Chapter 45. Refining with blazing fire, no mistakes, no redos. Forging a soul-bound treasure is naturally no simple task. The dual palm cannons that Zhilong forged, the materials he used, were the dragon scales he shed during his evolution. Not only were they of the same origin, but because Zhilong had only just finished evolving, those freshly shed scales were still brimming with his potent blood essence and a massive amount of soul energy. Same origin, same roots. Plus, they had already perfectly fused with his own essence, vitality, and spirit. He didn't even need to imprint new marks onto the scales, which saved him from endless, troublesome steps. He only needed to shape the scales and infuse them with immortal essence magic and runic arrays, and the initial forging would be considered a success. Back then, even on the full set Zhilong pulled out, there weren't even any complex inscriptions yet. The forging of that soul-bound treasure had been incredibly rushed and crude. That's precisely why Bamboo Dragon was able to pull out a complete set of signature magic weapons the moment it reached the king tier. But Cheng can't do the same. With this pair of Bamboo Dragon horns in his hands, there's no way he can just skip the process. Every single step is absolutely essential. In fact, Cheng even pulled several more materials out of his pocket. The 2 sharpest fangs from a 600 million power winged tiger, the 7-core multicolored feathers from a 7-colored peacock, the crimson-tipped dark gold feathers from a black peng, and the reverse scales of a mountain-moving earth dragon to form the roots of a willow tree. using the bamboo dragon's horns as the main component and incorporating the finest materials from the other 5 Overlord tier beasts as supplements to ensure that the quality of the final magic weapon isn't compromised. Cheng has handpicked only the best of the best. He's emptying out his entire stash for this. Anything below Overlord tier doesn't even make the cut. He activates his fire mastery talent, which he's quietly leveled up to 8, igniting flames right there in the void. The heat is intense, easily capable of melting through reinforced steel. Yet even with that kind of firepower, Cheng still isn't satisfied. The 27 layers of his domain collide behind him once more. As he pulls out immortal essence from within the domain, he throws this higher-level power directly into the flames he's conjured. With a massive boom, fire serpents dozens of feet high lash out from the blaze. What started as a small flicker instantly erupts into a roaring bonfire. The color of the flames shifts from orange-red to a deep blue-purple. It just goes to show, even with the same talent rank, the raw power one can unleash depends entirely on whether they are Overlord or King tier. The same logic applies to his level 8 fire talent. Cheng is amplifying it with the power of immortal essence. The intensity of the flames just kicked up a whole new notch. But that's not all. Cheng casually grabbed the roots of the astral willow and tossed them in as well. Flecks of starlight sparked and popped inside the fire. The reason Cheng threw those astral willow roots in wasn't to refine them as ingredients, but to use them as fuel. By using the astral willow as kindling to feed the fire, the flames before Cheng didn't grow any taller. In fact, the height of the fire even dropped a bit. But tiny, silver specks of star power were constantly churning within the flames. The power of the wood element and the essence of natural life were driving the flames to strengthen even further. The temperature of the fire underwent another qualitative transformation. The blue-green flames surged, with countless stars appearing to float and sink within them. The fire was now thick with the aura of life, giving it a greater creative force. This could hardly be called a regular fire anymore. Perhaps calling it the Star Creation Flame would be more fitting, but that name sounds a bit too grandiose. So Cheng thought about it and decided to drop the idea. The fire had reached a level that satisfied Cheng. Without further hesitation, Cheng took all the remaining materials and dumped them straight into the blaze. The searing heat, this upgraded flame was truly extraordinary. The dragon horn of the bamboo dragon could still hold on for a while, but the other several Overlord-level materials didn't even last a few minutes before being completely broken down. From within the black, dusty residue, a wisp of black gold light was extracted. Those black gold feathers represented the progress of its evolution toward becoming a golden-winged great pang. What was extracted from inside was a power related to extreme speed and sharpness. This streak of black gold power darted wildly above the flames. It's absolutely dazzling. The reverse scale of the earth-moving dragon. It melted down into a mass of black-gray solute. The texture is incredibly heavy. As soon as it was refined, it sank straight to the very bottom of the flames. It contains the power of weight and the earth itself. You can even faintly hear dragon roars coming from within, filled with wild, rebellious energy. The dragon's reverse scale, clearly Cheng's refining process, only intensified that defiance and resistance. Next, the tiger fangs of the 1.6 billion winged tigers and the 7 core feathers of the 7-colored peacock. The tiger fangs of the 600 million winged tigers were roasted down into a basin of powder, but it shimmered with a bright silver glow. That light was so blinding that even for someone like Cheng, it made his eyes sting slightly. The signature power of the tiger bloodline is even more refined. The beast's ferocity and that sharp, piercing attack. More than half of it comes from these fangs. As for the transformation of the 7-colored peacock's feathers, it's even more mysterious. After repeated refinement, Cheng actually forced those 7 beams of red light from the feathers to embody the very trait that the 7-colored peacock has always craved but could never achieve, the ability to brush away all obstacles. The bloodline of the 7-colored peacock, its ultimate legendary evolution, is the 5-colored peacock. Kong Xuan's divine ability is the 5-colored divine light. Within the 5 elements, nothing can withstand its sweep. Among the natural gifts of the 7-colored peacock, there is a similar ability, but it's incredibly weak. It's barely even noticeable. Its feathers are thinner too. The messy 7 colors might look impressive, but they aren't actually stronger than the 5 colors. The 5 colors represent the 5 elements, encompassing everything in existence. That way, Kong Xuan can sweep through 15,000 things. The 5 elements aren't just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They encompass hundreds of millions of possibilities, while the 7 colors represent something thin and messy. It may look like a lot, but it only represents 7 different attributes. Kong Xuan had always wanted to purify his bloodline, to turn his 7 colors into 5, and gain the power of the 5-colored divine light that sweeps through everything without error. But he just couldn't succeed. Yet after his death, the 7 feathers stripped from him were refined over and over by Cheng, and refined again. They actually started showing signs of becoming the 5-colored divine light, originally a 7-colored rainbow. Although the number of colors hasn't decreased, 2 of the colors have begun to fade. They are merging with the other 5, better representing the power of the 5 elements. Even though they haven't fully integrated into the 5 elements yet, it has greatly expanded the range of attributes he can sweep away. It still can't sweep through 10,000 things, but it can handle a dozen or so. It's still no match for the legendary Kong Chuan, but the power contained within this glimmer of light can already be considered a seed of the five-colored divine light. As one of the 13 kings of the Great Wall in later generations, Kong Chuan certainly had some tricks up his sleeve. Among the core materials, taken from these overlord-level creatures, the seven-colored peacock, the essence refined from Kong Chuan's spirit feathers was the strongest. But compared to that dragon horn, which has been burning for so long and still shows no signs of melting, the king-level dragon horn was on another level. It still paled in comparison. The fire continued to burn. After 2 hours, the dragon horn finally started to soften. 6 hours later, the dragon horn began to melt. 12 hours in, the dragon horn finally turned into a pool of completely melted essence. It took a full 24 hours. Chapter 46, Forging the Blade, a pursuit of perfection. The remains of these monstrous beasts were absolutely massive. For 12 solid hours, the dragon horn, originally as thick as a millstone, was slowly refined down into a clump, not particularly large in size. In fact, because the essence was so incredibly dense, the resulting substance hadn't even cooled yet, and it already felt like it was starting to solidify. Just this single clump of material, this single refined essence of the dragon horn, the power contained within it, was worth more than an entire overlord-tier creature. Finally, after refining all these monstrous materials, Cheng let out a long, weary breath, maintaining that level of flame for extraction the whole time, and every now and then having to suppress these restless raw materials. Even for someone like Cheng, after being put through the ringer for a full day and night, he couldn't help but feel a bit exhausted. Next came the fusion of the materials. With the bamboo dragon horn as the core component, Cheng had to fuse several other overlord-tier secondary materials into the dragon horn, this clump of golden red liquid he had refined. First came the gray-black molten substance, extracted from the heart of the mountain-moving earth dragon, and it was putting up the most intense resistance. Sensing Cheng's manipulation, and knowing it was about to be consumed, the essence born from the earth dragon itself immediately began to fight back. It even spontaneously transformed, taking on the shape of a tiny mountain-moving earth dragon, crouched at the base of the flames, roaring viciously at the dragon horn essence hovering above. The commotion caused by the earth dragon also provoked the bamboo dragon horn. A puny earth dragon, a subspecies, dares to roar at me. Under this provocation, the true dragon prestige, belonging to the bamboo dragon, unconsciously erupted outward, and an even more piercing dragon roar erupted. The essence of the mountain-moving earth dragon wilted in an instant. It didn't dare to make a single peep anymore. The form the mountain-moving earth dragon had just manifested instantly collapsed back into its soft, mushy state. It looked just like a glob of black sesame paste. It stopped roaring completely. It was even acting somewhat impatient, actively flying toward the original substance of the bamboo dragon horn. It willingly began to merge with it, the spirit of the mountain-moving earth dragon. It was the most arrogant and stubborn one of the lot, yet it was also the first one to be tamed through the fusion. Cheng didn't rush. He didn't have the bamboo dragon horn merge with anything else just yet. Instead, he went straight to work, taking the fused essence that had absorbed the mountain-moving earth dragon's core, and started shaping it. The high quality of the bamboo dragon horn, paired with the dense, heavy properties of the mountain-moving earth dragon, made for a perfect blade. The core of the mountain-moving earth dragon was quite a bit inferior in quality to the bamboo dragon horn, so it didn't affect the final color of the long blade. It was a long blade, gold and red all over. The color of the mountain-moving earth dragon's core had all settled into the handle, showing just a touch of dark, ashen gray. This was just a blade blank that had been shaped. It couldn't yet be called a true magical treasure. Next, he drew out the refined essence, extracted from the two fangs of the six-winged winged tiger. Then he guided the long blade to strike and slash against it, honing the edge on the refined essence. After a full 81 strikes, the edge of the long blade had become incredibly sharp. The metallic aura from the steel also, through these repeated collisions and friction, fused perfectly into the blade blank. The honing was complete. Beyond the gold red and a hint of ashen gray, the blade now radiated a bone-chilling, icy light from its edge. It wasn't exactly a color, but it was exceptionally blinding. The blade felt like it was cutting through rotting flesh. Then came the black feathers from the peng bird. Several drops of essence from those feathers landed on the blade, carving out streaks of menacing dark gold. Beyond the blood grooves, adding a touch of the golden-winged peng's lethal intent and spiritual power. These grooves also manipulate the airflow between Cheng and the blade, granting his attacks a boost in speed. The flying streamers formed by the seven-colored peacock's core, spiritual feathers, did not merge directly into the blade, but instead established a direct connection with it, creating something similar to the weapon auras in a video game. Not only does it provide a power buff to the blade, but it also grants every one of Cheng's strikes an unerring, absolute precision, a unique trait. This ensures that in every clash, Cheng holds an overwhelming advantage. The various materials struggled slightly, but none of them could escape the suppression of the bamboo dragon horn and Cheng. Even when they were alive, they couldn't beat Cheng, let alone now, when the majority of them are already dead matter. One by one, the materials were successfully fused into the body of the blade. The power radiating from the golden-red blade had already become incredibly sharp. It had completely surpassed those gauntlets of the bamboo dragon. If Cheng were to stop refining right now, it would already be a top-tier magic treasure. But what Cheng wants to forge is his own life-bound artifact. This dragon horn and the other materials weren't taken from his own body, but Cheng had a way, swinging the blade to cut himself. Cheng, with ruthless determination, lopped off one of his own arms, using energy to seal the wound on his shoulder. Although this method was a bit brutal, it didn't matter. Cheng possessed the talent he devoured from Zukun, the super regeneration ability. The severed arm could simply grow back. It's just that, at his current Overlord tier physical level, it was struggling to keep up. My super regeneration level 7 is acting a bit sluggish. Yeah, a full recovery is going to take about 4 or 5 days, but that's a price I'm perfectly willing to pay. I tossed my entire arm straight into the flames. With my mental manipulation, this arm, which shares my origin, won't put up any resistance. In an instant, all the bone and blood were refined. Meanwhile, at the base of the fire acting as kindling, the burning roots of the star willow finally started to show their true power. Such high-grade materials, there's no way I'd let them go to waste. A single, succulent drop of refined essence, and another drop sparkling like starlight, as if it held the vastness of the cosmos within it. This mysterious starlight energy. Both extracts were pulled out at the same time. That succulent drop of extract, I infused it directly into my own blood and bone. It felt like a chemical reaction, like a massive catalyst going off. The sheer life force and natural energy within that liquid instantly pushed the strength of my blood and bone to a whole new magnitude. Coupled with those few strands of extracted immortal essence, my very blood and bone are now on par with the king tier. As I coated the blade in this blood, the entire sword was instantly drenched in a deep crimson hue. The original red turned even more vivid, more bloodthirsty. The blade that was once divine now looked more like a cursed, demonic weapon. With blood fusing into the metal, the bones twisted into something wicked. That remaining piece of my arm bone shifted and reshaped itself, turning into a vicious crossguard for the sword. And that drop of starlight essence, combined with the heat of the flames and all the leftover scraps from the other materials, gradually forged itself into a scabbard as the essence seeped into the steel. On top of that, back when I was refining the materials earlier, Cheng carefully poured his own willpower, little by little, refining it into the materials. With his essence, energy, and spirit fully poured in, the blade now carried the very core of Cheng himself. The blade was forged. It could truly be called his soul-bound weapon. Yet Cheng felt it still wasn't perfect, because as it stood, the blade only possessed the innate properties of the forging materials. While those properties were certainly powerful, if he could only carve a few arrays into it, the blade would be even stronger. But what kind of arrays should he carve? The truth was, Cheng didn't know any arrays at all. However, he turned his gaze toward the realm behind him.